Chapter 1. Lu Chen had a dream, a very, very long dream. The world in the dream was both familiar and strange at the same time. Different characters played out different wonderful scenes, and he had actually experienced 3 different lives in this world. The first life belonged to a singer named Subo. His personality was flamboyant and he loved music crazily. Although he had good talent, he was never able to become famous and drifted around like duckweed. In the second life, his name was Mo Ran. He was an actor with a calm and reserved appearance. He had played different roles in many movies and TV shows, but they were all supporting roles. His acting was excellent, but he was always a foil to others. In the last part of his life, Fang Mingyi was a freelance writer. He liked music, movies, travel, and food. He often traveled the world with his backpack and relied on his unruly writing style to earn his living expenses by writing on the internet. Fate was strange. Su Bo, Mo Ran, and Fang Mingyi got to know each other at a random gathering. Although they had different personalities, they still had a lot in common, so they became true friends. Later, the 3 of them traveled together. On the mountain road leading to the Jade Dragon Snow Mountain, they suddenly encountered a mudslide, when a large amount of mud mixed with mountain rocks broke through the window and rushed into the car. A huge sense of fear and suffocation caused Lu Chen to suddenly wake up. He suddenly sat up on the bed. He was panting heavily, his forehead was covered with fine beads of sweat, and his eyes were in a daze. After a long time, Lu Chen barely came back to his senses. His line of sight slowly focused, and what came into view was an extremely familiar room. The dim light from the small table lamp barely illuminated the small room that was less than 10 square meters. Other than the bed under him, a set of old tables, chairs, and wardrobe, there was no other furniture. But he still couldn't tell whether he was Su Bo, Mo Ran, or Fang Mingyi. The memories of the 3 were so vivid that they were deeply engraved in his soul and couldn't be separated. Lu Chen hastily put on his coat and rushed to the small bathroom. He quickly turned on the tap and splashed water on his face with both hands. The strong stimulation brought by the ice-cold tap water instantly woke him up from his drowsy state. What appeared in the mirror was a youthful face. The shape of his face was very regular, angular, and rather handsome. His eyebrows were like swords, his eyes were deep, his nose was straight, and his thin lips were slightly stubborn. However, there was an indescribable sense of dejection and haggard between his eyebrows, revealing his disappointment and gloom towards life. Lu Chen could finally confirm that he was still him. He was still the 22-year-old who had not graduated from university and had been wandering in Beijing for nearly a year. Beep. The phone on the bedside table suddenly let out a loud beep. Lu Chen forcefully shook his head, forcing himself to temporarily forget about the messy thoughts in his mind. He hurriedly brushed his teeth and washed his face. Afterwards, he left the room and ran to work. He was currently living in the Jingming community on the 3rd Ring Road, near the 4th Ring Road. One of the dozens of rooms in the basement of an old building were separated. A small room that was less than 10 square meters had a rent of 1,200 yuan, but the advantage was that it had a separate bathroom. Furthermore, it wasn't far from where Lu Chen worked during the day. The nearest subway station was only 5 minutes away. In Beijing, a megacity with over 30 million people, there were many outsiders like Lu Chen. They either came to make a living or to fight for their dreams. They were often called Beijing drifters or ants, and some people even mocked themselves as drifting ants. As a member of the drifting ants, Lu Chen ran out of the neighborhood and onto the sidewalk. He broke through the morning fog and quickly ran towards his workplace. Everything was the same as usual, but everything seemed different. At dusk, Lu Chen dragged his exhausted body back to the dark and gloomy dwelling. He heavily threw himself onto the single bed and closed his eyes to rest for a moment. He pulled himself together and sat up, picking up the guitar that was placed in front of the bed. This single-fret guitar was the most precious item that Lu Chen currently owned. The guitar was made of white pine wood, and the back was made of rose wood. White pine was recognized as one of the best materials for making guitars in the world. It had a powerful tone and a great texture. Moreover, after a period of playing, it would become more sensitive to sound. Even during his most difficult times, Lu Chen never thought of selling this guitar. This was because it was a gift from Lu Shui to Lu Chen for his 18th birthday. Lu Shui was Lu Chen's sister. Buying this guitar cost her all of her pocket money. In another 3 hours, Lu Chen would use this guitar to earn his second salary. During the day, Lu Chen was an hourly worker at a KFC store. At night, he was a waiter and singer at a bar in Hohai. Working 2 jobs at the same time, he worked more than 15 hours a day. Lu Chen didn't want to work so hard, but his family's heavy debt forced him to work hard. Otherwise, his sister would face the danger of dropping out of school, and many creditors would come knocking on his door. Lu Chen also had a sister who was also working hard to pay off the debt. As the only man in the family, what reason did he have to avoid his responsibilities? Holding the guitar, Lu Chen lightly plucked the steel strings. The sweet sound of the guitar flowed out like water, filling the small room. He didn't know why, but he felt that today's casual performance was exceptionally comfortable. The normally difficult fingering became incomparably skilled, as if he had gone through thousands of practice and reached the realm of being able to do as he pleased. Lu Chen's heart moved. He straightened his back and began to seriously play. He played and sang Soaring Dove. Soaring Pigeon was a popular song written by the famous singer Tan Hong over a decade ago. It had a beautiful melody and was considered to be one of the most suitable folk songs to sing on the guitar. However, it had a high requirement for fingering and singing. Lu Chen didn't study music. He could be considered a fan of pop music. He had learned guitar playing for a few years and was able to captivate many ignorant girls by playing and singing. To put it bluntly, Lu Chen, who came from a wealthy family, only used the guitar as a tool to show off. To truly make a living, he could only become a waiter in a bar. He would only be able to sing if someone ordered him. If no one ordered him, he would at most be a fill-in singer. He belonged to the lowest of the bar singers. Soaring Pigeon, Lu Chen had played and sung before. However, he didn't have the skill to control it. He couldn't play the instrument with precise fingering and couldn't sing the song's artistic conception. But now that he was playing and singing Soaring Pigeon again, he found that the difficulty in fingering no longer existed. He opened his breath and sang lightly. The melodious song echoed in the room with a different kind of charm. Dreaming of becoming a pigeon flying in the blue sky, la la la. After he finished singing, Lu Chen's fingers pressed on the strings and he was stunned. How could this be? Was this really a song that he played and sang by himself? Put, put. Someone suddenly knocked on the door of the room. Lu Chen came back to his senses. He put down the guitar and said, "Come in, the door isn't closed." The door was quickly pushed open. A tall, thin man with glasses walked in with an exaggerated smile on his face. He gave Lu Chen a thumbs up and said, "Big singer, you're amazing." Lu Chen laughed and said, "Then hurry up and tip me. Just a few thousand or tens of thousands is enough. I don't have money, but I have my life." The bespectacled man howled loudly. He had an unyielding expression that made people want to kick him. This bespectacled man was Lu Chen's next-door neighbor. His name was Li Feiyu and he was from Xiangnan. He had been in Beijing for 3 years and was currently working as a salesman in a 4S shop. The basement was enclosed and the room was separated by a fireproof board. The soundproofing was very poor, so when Lu Chen practiced playing and singing in his room, his neighbors could hear him clearly. Big Singer was the nickname that Li Feiyu gave to Lu Chen. It could be considered as a good-natured joke. Because the two of them were about the same age and had good temperaments, they became friends. Li Feiyu often came to visit when he was free. Li Feiyu also loved to sing, but he was tone-deaf. When he sang, it was like the wailing of ghosts and the howling of wolves. He had some appreciation for pop songs. When he passed by and heard Lu Chen singing Soaring Pigeon, he was stunned. But to be honest, brother, after joking around, Li Feiyu said very seriously, "You sang this song really well. Although the style is a bit different from Tan Hong's, it is still full of artistic conception. It is at least 10 times better than the songs you used to sing." He spread out his 10 fingers and wished that he could raise both his feet to make up the number. Lu Chen smiled and said, "Thank you." He knew that his singing in the past was really not that good. "This is really strange." Li Feiyu's face revealed a mysterious expression. he looked left and right and said in a low voice, "Brother, you couldn't have been possessed by the god of music, right?" A young loser obtained a fortuitous encounter and his cultivation greatly improved. From then on, he set foot on the peak of life, married a rich and beautiful woman, and had fun every night. Li Feiyu also had a hobby, which was to read web novels on the internet. His imagination was very rich. Godai. Lucian didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He kicked over and interrupted the other person's nonsense. But the memory of the singer Su Bo in his dream instantly emerged in his heart. Su Bo not only sang very well, but he was also good at playing the guitar. Whether it was the folk guitar or the classical guitar, he played it wonderfully. "Let me go." Li Feiyu nimbly jumped to the door and said with a smile, "Big singer, if you can also create original songs, then with your current level of playing and singing, I dare say that you will definitely be popular." Definitely be popular? Lucian smiled bitterly and shook his head. He stood up and closed the door. Beijing was a place where people gathered, and it was also the cultural center of the country. There were many talented musicians and singers among the tens of thousands of Beijing drifters, but how many of them could really be popular? To be popular, talent, strength, connections, and luck were indispensable. What did Lucian have? And how could original songs be simple? Suddenly, there seemed to be a flash of light in Lu Chen's head, which instantly lit up his thoughts. Original? Yes, it was original. He suddenly rushed to the small desk and couldn't wait to open his old laptop. He had long been used to the long boot time of 50 seconds, but now he felt that every second was like a year. With great difficulty, he entered the desktop. Lu Chen immediately moved the mouse and clicked on a software icon that he hadn't opened for a long time. It was as if he was opening the door to change his fate. Chapter 2. In Lu Chen's dream world, there were too many unfamiliar people and things. Although the development of history and technology was similar, there were huge differences in the fields of music, movies, literature, and other cultural fields. The singers, movie stars, music, movies, literature, etc. that Lu Chen was familiar with did not exist in the dream world. But the dream world did not lack celebrities, classic masterpieces, and the richness of art even surpassed reality. Li Feiyu's words reminded Lu Chen that he had a huge treasure trove. Just those original pop songs. Lu Chen had just opened a software called Singer Master on his computer. Singer Master was known as a music composition tool. It combined songwriting, arrangement, synthesis, and other functions into one. It had a huge online cloud source material library. It was professional but easy to use. Regardless of whether it was an amateur or an experienced musician, they could use this software to create original songs. Lu Chen studied computer science in university. Plus, he liked music, so he was able to use Singer Master to compose and arrange songs early on. He wanted to experience what it felt like to be a singer. It was just that the songs he wrote in the past were for his own amusement. He would not be able to write a complete song in a year. As for the quality, there was not much to say. But now, with a memory from his dream, Lu Chen used less than half an hour to compose and write the lyrics for 2 songs. After finishing writing, Lu Chen played and sang several times to the screen and corrected some of the mistakes and omissions. Finally, he sent the complete scores of the 2 songs to Greater China Music Library for a copyright inquiry. Greater China Music Library was jointly established by the Chinese Cultural Bureau, the Chinese Copyright Bureau, the Chinese Musicians Association, and the Chinese Performing Artists Association. It was an online music copyright inquiry, registration, and trading website. It had a history of 20 years and had the highest authority in the field of music copyright. The website was open to everyone and provided a complete service, but it was not completely free. The fee for a copyright inquiry was 100 yuan. The 2 songs cost 200 yuan in Lu Chen's Yifu account, which was equivalent to 10 days of his living expenses. The inquiry process was very slow. The music library program would make a comprehensive comparison between the music score and the previously registered works to determine whether there were any similarities, or plagiarism. The Greater China Music Library's database was extremely large, and the intelligent comparison and judgment required a huge amount of calculations. Therefore, even with the support of a supercomputer in the background, it still required a certain amount of time to complete the query. But no matter how long it took, Lu Chen would insist on waiting, because this was a necessary step to register the copyright, and it was also the most important basis for him to compare dreams and reality. As time passed, Lu Chen stayed in front of the computer, staring at the progress bar without blinking. His heart had never been as restless as it was now. He was worried about personal gains and losses, and was extremely nervous. Because Lu Chen knew that this might be the only chance to change the fate of himself and his family. Ding! As if an entire century had passed, a green prompt suddenly popped up on the computer screen. Query successful. Lu Chen was stunned and didn't react immediately. Ding! Another prompt popped up. Query successful. This time, Lu Chen finally understood that the 2 songs he uploaded had passed the copyright inquiry of the Greater China Music Library. This meant that he could register the copyright and obtain all the copyrights of the songs. The next moment, a huge amount of joy and excitement drowned Lu Chen. He couldn't help but clench his fist and wave it around. He wanted to scream to the sky to vent his emotions at that moment. It really works. But it was not over yet. He suppressed the excitement in his heart and clicked on the copyright registration. The cost of copyright registration was much higher than the inquiry. One work required 500 yuan, and he would have to pay a filing fee every year to prevent excessive registration. Lu Chen had become a member of the Greater China Music Library a long time ago, and he had just passed the system inquiry. Therefore, after paying 1,000 yuan, the 2 songs were quickly registered under his name, and the copyright was confirmed. With the completion of the registration prompt, Lu Chen finally relaxed. But the joy in his heart increased, because he had confirmed that the memory in the dream was real. Leaning back on the chair, Lu Chen let out a long breath. He opened the drawer of the small desk and took out a bowl of instant noodles and a ham sausage. After thinking for a bit, Lu Chen took out a ham sausage. I'm happy today, extra. He got up and went to the bathroom to get some water. He plugged in the electric kettle and quickly poured the boiling hot water into the bowl of noodles. The air was filled with the familiar and intoxicating smell of instant noodles. It wasn't that Lu Chen didn't want to go out and eat a real feast, but after paying the copyright and registration fees, he only had 100 yuan left in his Yifu account. As for the change in his pocket, he didn't even have 50 yuan. Moreover, there was still half a month before the day of his payday. This amount of money wasn't even enough to eat, but Lu Chen didn't panic much. He ate the instant noodles, including the soup and water, and after a simple cleaning, he left the basement with the guitar case on his back. By the time Lu Chen arrived at Hohai Forget Grass Bar, it was already 8 o'clock in the evening. Hohai was called Hohai, but it was actually a huge artificial lake. It was used by the royal family in the old days and was also a part of Shikahai. It started from Anmen Y Street in the east, Xinjiku in the west, Ping and Street in the south, and Second Ring Road in the north. During the Yuan dynasty, Hohai was a prosperous commercial district of the metropolis. Along the coast, there were taverns, karaoke stands, shops, and workshops. Surrounding it were the residences of the nobles and famous poets. Even today, it was still the heart of the capital. Today's Hohai was more prosperous than in the past. On weekdays, there was a lot of people. At night, all the bars lit up their signs to welcome customers who liked to spend the night. Hohai was famous for its snacks, but the bars were even more famous. Forget Grass Bar was one of the hundreds of bars in Hohai, and it was also where Lu Chen worked at night. Xiao Lu, why are you late? The waiter standing at the entrance saw Lu Chen rushing over and mocked. Aren't you always the most punctual? Could it be that you forgot the time when you saw a beauty today? Lu Chen glanced at him and didn't say anything. He pushed open the door and entered the bar. This guy was about the same age as Lu Chen and had worked at Forget Grass Bar for a longer time than Lu Chen. The two originally didn't have any grudges, but after being scolded by the boss several times for being late to work, he held a grudge against Lu Chen. Because the boss of the bar scolded him, he used Lu Chen, who always came to work on time, as a comparison. Lu Chen was purely being shot while lying down. He was really wronged. Another important reason was that among all the waiters in Forget Grass Bar, Lu Chen was undoubtedly the most handsome. He was at least 3 streets ahead of this guy with acne all over his face. Usually, he relied on his face to earn quite a bit of tips. His heart was filled with jealousy, so he seized the opportunity to mock and ridicule Lu Chen. Lu Chen knew that there was no reason to reason with this kind of person, and he didn't want to stir up trouble, so he treated him like air. Ignoring him was actually a very powerful counterattack. It wasn't the prime time for the nightlife yet, so there weren't many customers in the bar. Forget Grass Bar's scale was considered medium in Hohai. It was rebuilt from an old warehouse. The space inside was more than 6 meters high, divided into 2 floors. In the middle, there was a suspended stage, lighting, curtains, sound system, and other facilities. Surrounding the center stage, there were a total of 10 wine tables and stools on the first and second floor. Including the scattered seats in front of the bar, it could accommodate up to 200 customers. The entire decoration was said to have cost around 2 million. Chapter 3. The backstage of Forget Grass Bar was a large room that was separated into 2 small rooms. The backstage was the space for the singers. The large room outside had a row of dressing tables and storage cabinets. There were also 5 to 6 soft chairs for the singers to use. The 2 small rooms had sofas, televisions, wine cabinets, individual washrooms, and other facilities. It was the territory of the contracted singers and bands. Although they were both singing in a bar, the status of the singers was as different as heaven and earth. When Lu Chen came in, there were already 2 resident singers, a man and a woman, sitting in the outer room. The male singer was playing with his mobile phone, while the woman was touching up her makeup. No one paid attention to Lu Chen, who had just pushed the door and entered. Because in this small circle, Lu Chen's status was the lowest. "Good morning, Brother Yi, Sister Hong." Lu Chen greeted the 2 as usual. He then sat down in his seat and put down the piano case. His seat was in the corner of the backstage area. The male singer gave an indifferent end sound. The female singer put down the makeup cotton in her hand and smiled. "Xiao Lu, you're late today. Did the boss scold you?" Sister Hong was 30 years old this year. She had been at Forget Grass Bar for 5 years. She was good at singing love songs and had a good voice. Although her appearance was not outstanding, she was still a bit famous in the bar singer circle in Hohai. However, compared to one of the pillars of Forget Worries Bar, the contracted singer sister Na Zhongnana, she was still lacking quite a bit. Even so, she always maintained a condescending arrogance towards Lu Chen. Although it sounded like a concerned question, it actually hid a trace of ridicule and ridicule. If it was yesterday, Lu Chen would definitely be depressed and angry, but he couldn't do anything about it. But after experiencing 3 different lives in the dream, his mentality had already changed without him noticing. He indifferently smiled and said, "Thank you for your concern, Sister Hong. I'll apologize to the boss." Sister Hong was startled and couldn't say the words she wanted to say. She softly snorted and no longer paid attention to Lu Chen. She picked up the makeup cotton again. At this time, a small room's door suddenly opened. A man wearing a black jacket with long hair walked out. "Brother Qin." Sister Hong and the male singer reacted quickly and immediately stood up to greet him. Lu Chen was a bit slower and also stood up. "Good morning, Brother Qin." This jacket man, Qin Hanyang, was the real leader of Forget Grass Bar. He was the lead singer and rhythm guitarist of the Bionics. He was the soul of the Bionics. Even the boss, Qin Jianhao, was polite to him. The Bionics was based in Forget Grass Bar. There were a total of 5 members. Apart from Qin Hanyang, there was a lead guitarist, a bass player, a drummer, and a keyboard player. For a bar like Forget Grass Bar, it wasn't easy to support a band. On the other hand, the existence of the Bionics raised the bar's reputation and popularity. Therefore, they were fully deserving of being the pillar of the bar. Qin Hanyang didn't have any expression on his face. He nodded his head in response. He picked up a few pieces of paper on the makeup table and returned to his room, closing the door. Sister Hong and the male singer couldn't help but feel a bit embarrassed. However, the 2 of them didn't have the qualifications to compete with Qin Hanyang. One word from the latter could make them leave Forget Grass Bar, and they might not even be able to survive in Hohai. Lu Chen laughed in his heart. He and Qin Hanyang were too far apart and he didn't have any thoughts of climbing up to him. Therefore, he didn't care about Qin Hanyang's attitude. Of course, he wouldn't feel the embarrassment of having his warm face stuck to a cold butt. A bar was also a small jianghu, and Lu Chen was just a small shrimp in the jianghu. He sat down again and began to comb his messy hair. The atmosphere of Hohai Bar was different from the Sanlitun Bar, where all kinds of people mixed together. Those strangely dressed, sloppy, decadent singers weren't welcomed here, so one's own image was very important. On the stage outside, the host's voice could be heard. That was the start of the warm-up. Lu Chen had to hurry up and prepare. Soon he would be performing on stage. As for what song he was going to sing tonight, he already had a preliminary idea in his heart. While the host was telling jokes to liven up the atmosphere, the waiter who was previously guarding the bar entrance sneakily snuck into the electronic room on the right side of the backstage. The electronic room was very small. Inside, there were equipment to control the sound, lighting, and computers. All kinds of cables and wires were densely packed like a spider web. Red, green, and blue LED lights were flashing nonstop. Sitting in the middle of the spider web was a fatty who weighed at least 200 pounds. He wore a large monitoring headset and was currently shaking his head while listening to music. In front of him, there was an unfinished hamburger on the work table. "Fatty bro, fatty bro." The waiter called out twice, but the other side didn't hear him. In desperation, he could only forcefully push him. The fatty suddenly opened his eyes. Seeing that it was the waiter, he couldn't help but wrinkle his eyebrows. He took off the headset and unhappily said, "Xiao Gao, why aren't you receiving guests outside? What are you doing here? Get out, get out." He was the sound engineer of the electronic room. In this small room, even if Chen Jinhao came, he would still have to listen to him. Xiao Gao of course knew this. He quickly smiled and gave him a bottle of Jinwei beer. The fatty unceremoniously took the beer. He glanced at him and asked, "Speak, you brat. What do you want by being so solicitous for no reason? I'll say the ugly words first. Small matters can be discussed, but big matters can't be discussed." "It really is a small matter?" Xiao Gao's spirit suddenly rose. He quickly moved closer to the fatty's ear and whispered a few words. When the fatty heard this, his face became strange. He looked at the other party from head to toe. He said, "You brat, you're really sinister. This is considered a small matter?" Xiao Gao smiled and said, "It really is a small matter. I just don't like that brat Lu Chen. Relying on his pretty face, he's arrogant. We're just teaching him a lesson. We'll let him know that in Forget Worries Bar, relying on his pretty face isn't enough." The fatty thoughtfully nodded his head. He raised his hand and rubbed his fat chin. "What you said makes sense. You said that he's handsome but can't sing well. He didn't go to Sanlitun to be a young master. Instead, he came to Hohai to pretend to be an artistic youth. He even needs me, fatty bro, to wipe his ass. Isn't this putting the cart before the horse?" Xiao Gao sinisterly smiled. "That's right, fatty bro. You're doing this for his own good?" His expression suddenly changed. He pointed at the one-way glass window of the electronic room and said, "Lu Chen is going on stage." The wall separating the electronic room and the stage was equipped with a one-way glass. The people inside could see the entire stage, but the people outside couldn't see inside. The person holding the guitar was walking to the middle of the stage. If it wasn't Lu Chen, who else could it be? "Fatty bro, hurry up and do it." Xiao Gao's eyes stared at Lu Chen. He anxiously urged, "What are you panicking for?" The fatty glared at Xiao Gao and said, "I know what I'm doing. I don't need you to teach me what to do." As he said this, he reached out and closed a button on the sound control. The LED indicator light on the auxiliary sound mixer immediately went off. The singers in Hohai Bar all sang live or even played live accompaniment. It would be hard for people without a bit of skill to survive here. However, a singer's voice could be adjusted in the electronic room. If the sound was adjusted well, it would have the ability to turn something rotten into something magical. A real professional mixer disdained to mingle in a bar. Forget Worries Bar couldn't afford one. Therefore, the sound was adjusted backstage by a semi-professional sound tube. Coupled with the semi-professional digital equipment, it was completely possible to fool amateurs. Among the customers that came to the bar, there were also people who knew the industry. However, there weren't many people who knew the inside story. Lu Chen's level of playing and singing was very ordinary. The reason he had the opportunity to appear on stage and earn some extra money was because of his looks. Fatty's sound tube also played a part in the background tuning. What made the fatty unhappy was that Lu Chen had never given him any benefits. He was even more of a big shot than a resident singer. Therefore, now that he was instigated by Xiao Gao, his resentment rose and he temporarily turned off the sound mixer. In this way, the sound that Lu Chen plays and sings on the stage will not be optimized, and will be directly presented in the hundreds of thousands of JBL speakers through the amplifier. He would be exposed. Fatty chuckled and threw a look at Xiao Gao. You just wait and watch the show. Xiao Gao nodded his head and excitedly clenched his fists. Lu Chen, let's see if you still have the face to mingle in Forget Worries Bar. At this moment, Lu Chen didn't know that he was being schemed against. He sat on the piano stool, his right hand holding the guitar in his arms, freeing up his left hand to adjust the angle of the microphone. After 8 p.m., it was the weekend. More and more customers appeared in the bar. Now, almost 2/3 of the seats were already occupied. Many of them were old customers. After the preparations, Lu Chen said to the microphone, "Thank you everyone for coming to Forget Worries Bar. Today, I will be singing for everyone. It's a song called Soaring Pigeon. I hope everyone will like it." Sparse applause sounded in the bar. A female customer who knew Lu Chen blew a loud hoodlum whistle. "Xiao Lu, you can do it." Many customers laughed. The atmosphere became lively and lively. Lu Chen blushed with shame as he waved at the other party. Then, he prepared to start his performance. Brother Kenho, behind the bar, the charming woman looked at Lu Chen on the stage. Her eyes flashed with a bit of light. This little guy has a good appearance. He's very handsome. He also knows how to play and sing. Let him come to my company. Qin Jianhao laughed involuntarily. He shook his head and said, Xiao Lu's hardware is not bad. But his playing and singing skills are too amateur. Here, he's already at his limit. Moreover, he still has to rely on sound repair to support the stage. Do you really want to sign him? Then forget it, the charming woman decisively said. I don't want someone without foundation. My small company can't afford to train him. There were 3 things in Beijing. Many officials, many rich people, and many handsome men and beautiful women. Talented people with outstanding appearance could be found everywhere. In terms of music alone, Beijing had 3 major music academies. Plus, there were various music training institutions. Every year, who knows how many new people would come out? Why bother to train someone without foundation? The charming woman was just casually saying it. She didn't take it seriously. At this time, Lu Chen strummed the guitar strings. Chapter 4. It's raining, I'm walking on an empty street. After playing the short prelude, Lu Chen opened his mouth to sing. Looking at the flowers, they bloom and give thanks. All the fans who are familiar with Tan Hong believe that Soaring Pigeon is one of his most outstanding works. The lyrics of this song are not complex. It tells the story of a young man yearning for freedom, longing for love. The embodiment of his ideals is the pigeon flying in the sky. This is also a lyrical ballad suitable for young people, so it has been loved by countless people. It has been sung for more than 10 years and can often be heard in the bars of Hohai. But this song is also known to be difficult to sing and play. If a singer without enough ability wants to sing it beautifully, it is completely asking to be humiliated. According to Lu Chen's previous standards, him choosing Soaring Pigeon as the opening song is simply overestimating his own abilities. However, when he lightly plucked the strings and began to sing, the Forget Grass bar quickly quieted down. Several customers who were chatting and laughing shut their mouths. The bartender standing behind the bar stopped shaking the wine jug in his hand, and even the waiters tiptoed as they walked, afraid to disturb others. Lu Chen's clear and clean voice, was clearly transmitted to everyone's ears through the speakers placed in every corner of the bar, causing the customers present to involuntarily be infected, causing their mood to rise and fall along with the song. I stand in front of you, dreaming, to become a pigeon flying in the blue sky, like a soaring pigeon. Because of familiarity, they like it, but also because of familiarity, they are picky. Many of the customers who frequent the Forget Grass bar have a good appreciation for music or pop music. As long as a singer plays a wrong note or sings a wrong tune, they can all tell. Especially for a classic like Soaring Pigeon, it is a big test for the singer. Lu Chen's singing is almost perfect. His fingering, breathing, voice, and emotions are all on point. If you really want to nitpick, you can only say that compared to the original singer, Tan Hong, he is still slightly inexperienced. But if he is not an inexperienced youth, is he still a youth? After 5 minutes, the song ended. The audience was silent. After a moment, no one knew who started it, but a round of applause rang out. Good was good. If he sang well, he would naturally receive sincere applause. A loud hoodlum whistle rang out, once again attracting a lot of laughter and praises. Xiao Lu, your singing today was really charming. Big sister loves you so much, let me gift you a dozen Jin Wei. This was a kind greeting from a certain true white bone demon / fake female artistic youth. Thank you. Lu Chen smiled and waved at him to express his gratitude. He was a regular customer who liked to joke around. Customers' love and support for singers were usually expressed in the form of gifts. Male singers would give beer, and female singers would give flowers. A dozen of Jin Wei beer would cost 20 yuan, which was equivalent to 240 yuan. Lu Chen did not need to drink the wine, but he could take a 50% share, which was 120 yuan. Hohai Bar's position and customer base were completely different from Sanlaton's. Basically, there weren't any nouveau riches throwing money around, rich second generations throwing exos to fight, or brain-dead kids trying to pick up girls. 12 bottles of Jin Wei beer as a gift was not a small amount here. In the past, this sister Shan had also given Lu Chen alcohol, but at most it was 2 to 3 bottles. Today, she directly gave him a dozen, which undoubtedly showed that he had received her love and appreciation for his performance. Lu Chen's choice of Soaring Pigeon as the first song to warm up the crowd was undoubtedly the right choice. He hugged his guitar and felt a strange feeling in his heart. Behind the bar, there was a charming woman who was also in a very special mood. Her cherry lips slightly opened as she stared at the bar owner, Chen Jianhao, with a look of disbelief and said, "Brother Kenho, if you don't want to let him go then just say it. Is it fun to play with me like this?" Chen Jianhao did not know whether to laugh or cry. "Su Qing, when did I play with you?" This lady was not an ordinary person. His old bones could not afford to play with her. "You still dare to say?" Su Qingmei gritted her teeth and said, "Xiao Lu's voice is a bit special, but his level is too amateur. Here, he is at his limit, and he also has to rely on the sound repair to support the stage. Do you really want it?" She completely repeated what Chen Jianhao had said about Lu Chen. Not a single word was wrong. Chen Jianhao was suddenly speechless. He himself also felt very strange. Lu Chen was obviously at the amateur level, but the skill he showed today was completely different from before, as if he had been reborn and created a miracle. Just before Lu Chen started singing, Chen Jianhao was very unhappy that Lu Chen chose Soaring Pigeon as the opening song. He thought that this song was too difficult, and that Lu Chen was simply unable to handle it. But now he was being ridiculed by Su Qingmei, and he could not refute. He could only say, "This kid." He must have asked an expert to give him pointers these 2 days. That's why he performed better. Chen Jianhao thought of an explanation that he thought was reasonable. 2 days? Su Qingmei sneered. You can give pointers to such a standard in just 2 days? Which expert is so good, I'll pay $1 million a year to hire him, and don't tell me you can't tell. His voice was not adjusted backstage. Chen Jianhao felt that his face was about to swell. He understood music, and he was originally in the industry, and the bar was owned by his family. How could he not tell whether the singer's voice was adjusted or not? There must be a problem with the electronics room. This showed how good Lu Chen was. Pure original voice. Facing the aggressive Su Qing, Chen Jianhao could only gloomily and helplessly say, "Then you go talk to Xiao Lu yourself. As long as he agrees, I will definitely let him go." Actually, Lu Chen and Forget Grass Bar did not sign a formal contract. He could leave whenever he wanted. Su Qingmei revealed a victorious smile and said, "Listen to 2 more songs, maybe he really performed better?" At this moment, Lu Chen, who was sitting on the stage with his guitar, had already received 37 beers as a tip. The extra 370 yuan almost made his mood soar, and with great difficulty he suppressed his excitement and said to the microphone, "Thank you very much for your support. The following song is very special." He stuttered, paused, and then continued, "It's a song I wrote. Today is the first time I'm performing it. Its name is, You Who Sat Next to Me." You Who Sat Next to Me. This was the first song Lu Chen received in the dream world. He wrote the lyrics for this song, and then successfully registered the copyright with the Greater China Music Library, together with another song. Therefore, from a legal perspective, You Who Sat Next to Me was an original song that Lu Chen owned all the copyright. But Lu Chen could not lie to himself and say that this kind of behavior was not plagiarism, but when he thought of his family's heavy debt, the burden in his heart was so weak that it was almost non-existent. The familiar yet strange dream world, the memories of 3 lives, it was a gift from the heavens to change his fate. Taking a deep breath, Lu Chen's confused eyes became firm again, and his fingers once again pressed down on the strings. An original song, to be performed for the first time in Forget Grass Bar? Lu Chen's words inevitably caused a small commotion in the bar. Many of the customers were surprised, but there were also many who disapproved and thought that he was just playing to the gallery. Especially those old customers who knew Lu Chen, they were already very surprised at the standard of Lu Chen's soaring pigeon. And now that they heard that he was going to sing a song he wrote, they were a bit in disbelief. How could it be so easy to write an original song? Since the birth of modern pop music, there have been countless classic works in mainland China, Hong Kong, Taiwan, Europe, America, Japan, and Korea. But now, good original works are becoming fewer and fewer, and some people even say that outstanding melodies have already been written. Of course, melodies can't be written, but this also proves the difficulty of creating an original. Many pop singers claim to be original, but their works are often mixed up or ordinary. There are also such singers in the bar circle. They often hope to become famous with one song, but the result is that they become a laughingstock. Is Lu Chen also muddle-headed? It's normal for young people to be impulsive, who hasn't been hot-blooded and passionate at times. Everyone can understand. But this doesn't mean that they think that Lu Chen can come up with a good original work. It's just that the name of the song is very interesting. You Who Sat Next to Me. Many people remembered their former deskmates when they were young, and their faces all revealed a trace of a smile. Original. Su Qingmei pursed her lips and smiled. "Brother Kenho, your little buddy really hides his abilities. Today I came to the right place." The bar owner, who had already been hit hard, said with flagging interest, listen to it. Original? That's nonsense. How could he not know Lu Chen's ability?" At that time, Chen Jianhao let Lu Chen perform on stage because he saw that his appearance was good and his voice was passable, so it wouldn't be a problem to fool the layman. In any case, he was just a singer to fill up the stage, so it didn't matter if his singing was good or bad. As for music literacy, did Lu Chen have that kind of thing? But with the previous lesson, Chen Jianhao didn't say much. If he were to be slapped in the face again, where could he put his old face now? On the stage, the prelude of the guitar sounded, and a soothing voice floated into everyone's ears. "Tomorrow will you remember the diary you wrote yesterday? Tomorrow will you still remember you who loved to cry the most? The teachers can't remember you who can't guess the problem. I also accidentally flipped through the photos, then I remembered my deskmate, who married the sentimental you, who read your diary, who tied up your long hair, who made your wedding dress." The customers present were stunned, and the waiters were also stunned. Chen Jianhao was stunned, and so was Su Qingmei. Stunning! A classic folk song that belonged to another world, after being sung by Lu Chen, suddenly knocked open their hearts. It touched everyone's souls. Note: You deskmate lyricist/composer, Gao Xiaosong. Chapter 5. Luo Hongyi was one of the regular customers of the Forget Grass Bar. He had been working hard in the capital for many years and was now considered half a successful person. Although he was very busy with work, he often came to the bar at night to sit and order a few concocted rum to pass the time of the long, silent night. Luo Hongyi did not like noise, nor did he want to be alone. The atmosphere of the Hohai bar made him feel comfortable. He did not come here to look for a romantic encounter, but to relax his tense heart. Tonight, he sat in his usual seat at the Forget Grass Bar. Then he heard Lu Chen singing "You Who Sat Next to Me." "You used to be very careful, asking me to borrow half an eraser. You once unintentionally said, you like to be with me. At that time the sky was always very blue, the days always passed too slowly, you always said that graduation was far away. In the blink of an eye we went our separate ways. Who met you who was so sentimental, who comforted you who loved to cry, who read the letter I wrote to you, who threw it in the wind." As an elite in the workplace, Luo Hongyi had long been used to scheming and scheming. He used to think that his heart was as indestructible as steel and would not be moved by anyone or anything. However, when he heard this clean and fresh folk song with nostalgia and melancholy, he suddenly found that his heart was not as hard and cold as he thought it was. There was still a softness hidden deep inside that he did not need to be ashamed of. Perhaps the desk mate was the most profound existence in everyone's youth. Many people's desk mates were the most touching first love. Although at that time no one understood love, only this kind of relationship that did not involve utilitarianism and was not contaminated by the secular world was the most beautiful. Luo Hongyi also had a desk mate that was engraved in the depths of his memory. It was a girl with the word Tong in her name. Acquaintance, familiarity, love, quarrel, reconciliation, and then graduation. In the blink of an eye they went their separate ways. It was like a melodramatic modern drama, but that was what Luo Hongyi had experienced, his mother's youth. The past could no longer be recalled, but at this moment, Luo Hongyi suddenly had a strong impulse. He wanted to call Tong, just to ask her, "Are you okay now?" However, he had lost contact with the other party a long, long time ago. "The past days are far away. I will also have my wife. I will also show her pictures, tell her about your deskmate. Who married the sentimental you, who will comfort you who loves to cry. Who coils up your long hair, who made the wedding dress for you." But Luo Hongyi stood up abruptly, almost flipping over the small wine table in front of him. But he didn't care. He grabbed an unopened bottle of wine on the table and strode towards the stage. On the stage, Lu Chen finished singing the last line. Everyone was silent. It was as if a spell had been cast on them. Time stopped at this moment. Lu Chen felt great, because everyone's eyes were focused on him. No one spoke, no one drank, no one walked around, no one was careless, and no one turned a blind eye. Here, on this stage, he used a new song to conquer everyone. Apart from a well-dressed middle-aged man, he quickly passed through the aisle between the tables, his footsteps slightly staggering as he rushed to the front of the stage, and then he placed the bottle of wine in his hand on the anti-slip hard plywood table. Then, the man who looked like a professional elite took out his wallet and opened it. He first counted 500 yuan bills and put them next to the bottle. He hesitated for a moment and added 3 more. A total of 8 new big red bills were pressed down by the bottle. "Sing it again." The middle-aged man looked up at Lu Chen and said in a hoarse voice, "Please sing it again." His dark eyes flashed with an inexplicable luster. Lu Chen was shocked at first. After he understood, he quickly said, "Thank you for your support. Then I will sing it again. I hope everyone can like my new original song." This kind of reward method was rare in Forget Grass Bar. Because most of the people who came here were white-collar workers, artistic youths, university students, or people in the circle. They were mostly people with quality and rationality. The classic characteristics of "You Who Sat Next to Me," through Lu Chen's first song, produced a touching magic. At this time, the applause finally exploded in the bar. It was so warm that it almost lifted the roof. Lu Chen leaned over and took the bottle of rum. He unscrewed the cap and took a big gulp. Then he put it back in its original position. He nodded at the other party and hugged the guitar again. He began to sing it again. The applause that just sounded was like a summer storm. It came and went quickly. The bar quickly restored its tranquility. The noise from the pedestrian street outside passed through the glass window of the door. It was weak and ethereal. Lu Chen's singing and the sound of the guitar mixed together, filling up this unforgettable time little by little. Behind the bar, Su Qingmei's eyes lit up. She tightly grabbed Qin Jinhao's arm and said in a low voice, I want him, I want him. Qin Jinhao had a headache. He pinched his eyebrows and said with a bitter smile, My big miss, can you be a bit more reserved? If it's yours, you can't run away. If it's not yours, he can only be mine. Su Qingmei proudly interrupted the other party. Her words were filled with unspeakable confidence. I don't believe he can refuse my invitation. But the premise is that you don't interfere. Also, this song is really his own original. Qin Jinhao shook the phone in his left hand and said, I've tried to recognize the song by listening to it. There are no similar works. If you want to confirm it, then go to the music library yourself. Recognize the song by listening to it was a very popular phone software. As long as you opened it and casually recorded a piece of music or voice, it could identify the song title. The accuracy was quite high. Of course, compared to Greater China Music Library, recognize the song by listening to it was much less professional and authoritative. Su Qingmei giggled. She let go of Qin Jinhao's arm and said, Then there's no problem. The charm of a mature woman and the craftiness of a young girl. The two different temperaments mixed together, giving her a unique charm. She was like the legendary seductress that could turn all living things upside down. But Qin Jinhao respectfully kept his distance. You don't have a problem, but I still have a problem. He left the bar and walked towards the backstage. On the stage, Lu Chen's singing continued. In the big room backstage, Sister Hong and the male singer surnamed Yi looked at each other in dismay. Shock, astonishment, envy, jealousy, and all sorts of other emotions appeared on their faces. They were facing each other in silence. The big room wasn't as soundproof as the small room, so they could clearly hear the song echoing in the bar. After mingling in Nepenthe's bar for so long, how could they not know what Lu Chen's original level was? As resident singers, no matter if it was Sister Hong or the male singer surnamed Yi, they had always looked down on Lu Chen. They thought that he was just relying on his face to eat. In essence, he was just a bar waiter. They had never seen him as a competitor. But tonight, Lu Chen acted as a stepping stone. First, he used Soaring Pigeon to make everyone sit up and take notice of him. Then, he took out an original song and stunned the audience, winning the house. Was this still the Lu Chen that everyone knew? The two couldn't believe it, didn't dare to believe it, and didn't want to believe it. Where did he copy it from? After a while, the male singer surnamed Yi mumbled, It sounds a bit familiar, and he has the nerve to say that it's an original. Sister Hong forced a smile, but in her heart, she was secretly despising the other party's intelligence. Whether it was an original song or not, the audience could easily check it with their phones. Unless Lu Chen's head was kicked by a donkey, otherwise, if he was seen through, how could he still have the face to continue working here? What she couldn't believe was that the two songs that Lu Chen sang before and after were not tuned. What was Fatty doing in the electronics room? At the same time, in the electronics room, Fatty's sound tube and the waiter Xiao Gao were completely dumbfounded. They wanted to scheme against Lu Chen, so they turned off the mixer and played the original song. They thought that by doing this, Lu Chen would be exposed and make a fool of himself, satisfying their own dark thoughts. But the result was completely different from what they imagined. Not only did Lu Chen not lose face, but he also won the applause of all the customers. His singing and playing skills were much better than before. The sound coming from the monitor was even clearer than it was in the bar. Their little tricks were all in vain. Moreover, Lu Chen actually had an original song. Fatty shook his head in frustration and reached out to turn on the mixer again. Xiao Gao grabbed him and asked in a dark voice, Brother Fatty, can you tune his voice a bit worse? Strong jealousy was like a poisonous snake biting the waiter's heart, making him lose his mind. But Fatty was still very clear-headed. He didn't have a big grudge against Lu Chen. After being shocked, he anxiously said as if his butt was on fire, "What nonsense are you talking about? Do I still want my job?" Of course, the tune could be adjusted, but it was too obvious. Did he think that other people were fools? Xiao Gao was extremely unwilling. He grabbed Fatty's arm and didn't let go, wanting to continue persuading him. At this time, the electronics room's door was suddenly pushed open. The two with ulterior motives turned their heads. When they saw Chen Jinhao appear at the door, they were both scared silly. Chen Jinhao's face was gloomy. His incomparably sharp eyes first swept over the two, and finally fell on the still-turned-off mixer. There were faint sparks flashing in his eyes. Fatty collapsed on the chair. With a bitter face, he wanted to explain, "Boss." Chen Jinhao didn't pay attention to him. He coldly said to Xiao Gao, "Xiao Gao, go to the cashier to collect this month's salary. Don't come here anymore." The boss of Forget Grass Bar was very clear about what happened and who the culprit was. As if a bolt of lightning struck his head, Xiao Gao suddenly woke up. All his jealousy, unwillingness, anger, and hatred disappeared. There was only fear and regret. "Boss, I was wrong. Please give me another chance." Being a waiter at Forget Grass Bar wasn't bad. The job was stable and the salary wasn't low. The boss, Chen Jinhao, wasn't mean to his employees. At the end of the year, he would receive a generous bonus. Xiao Gao really didn't want to lose this job. Moreover, Chen Jinhao wanted him to not mix around in Hohai in the future. Of course, Chen Jinhao didn't have the ability to influence all the bars in Hohai. But as long as he spread a few words, which bar would be willing to hire a troublemaker like him? Letting him take his salary and leave now was already the most benevolent act of giving him a way out. No matter how much he begged, it was useless. Xiao Gao wanted to cry, but no tears came out. He brought this upon himself. Chapter 6. After chasing away Xiao Gao, Chen Jinhao's attention returned to Fatty. His gaze was as sharp as an eagle's and Fatty was trembling like a quail. His forehead was covered in cold sweat. Although Fatty Sound Tube was known as the number 2 in the electronics room and the number 3 in the world, when the boss arrived with rage, his fat body trembled. He was so terrified that he wanted to immediately find a hole to hide in. Unable to hide, he could only squeeze out a smile that was uglier than crying. "Boss, I know I was wrong. It was Xiao Gao. I know it was Xiao Gao who instigated you to do this." Chen Jinhao interrupted his explanation and said, "So this time I will only deduct your bonus for this month. If there is a next time." To be able to open a medium-sized bar in Hohai, Chen Jinhao was certainly not an ordinary person. His shrewd and experienced eyes did not rub the slightest bit of sand in them. Without even asking, he could guess the truth of the matter. As the instigator of all this, Chen Jinhao definitely could not tolerate Xiao Gao. However, Sound Tube could not be turned on. Of course, a corresponding punishment and warning was necessary. There won't be a next time. Fatty suddenly felt as if he had been pardoned and quickly said, "I will definitely behave myself. I will fix Xiao Lu's voice right now." He hastily turned on the mixer. Unexpectedly, Chen Jinhao pondered for a moment and said, "There is no need to fix Xiao Lu's voice. The others can continue as usual." Originally, in Forget Grass Bar, there were only 2 singers that did not need to be fixed. They were the contracted singer Zhang Nana and the lead singer of the Bionics, Qin Hanyang. Both of them were pillars of the stage. Now, Lu Chen was added to the mix. Chen Jinhao was worried that after tonight, Lu Chen would have to fly away. The world here was really too small. Nodding at Fatty's head, he left the electronics room. On the other side, Lu Chen had just finished singing You Who Sat Next to Me for the second time and received even more enthusiastic applause. There were also bottles of beer as tips. "Xiao Lu, sing 2 more songs," someone shouted. With so many tips, Lu Chen also wanted to sing a few more songs. However, if the bar was a small jianghu, then the jianghu had its rules. A small shrimp like him was not qualified to ignore the rules. As a fill-in singer, it was his duty to sing 2 songs, and it was not too much to sing 1 more song at the request of the guests. However, if he wanted to continue to dominate the stage, he would incur the wrath of the public. Were the other singers watching him sing? So when he saw the host, Lu Chen immediately stood up and bowed. "Thank you, everyone. Thank you." At this moment, he saw Chen Jianhao waving at him from behind the bar counter, so he took the opportunity to give the stage to Sister Hong. After putting away his guitar in the backstage room, Lu Chen hurried to the bar. "Boss, sit down and talk." Chen Jianhao nodded and gestured for him to sit down. "You sang well today. This song, You Who Sat Next to Me, was very interesting. I didn't expect you to have this kind of ability. I really misjudged you before." Lu Chen scratched his head embarrassedly and didn't know how to explain. To be honest, even he felt like he was in a dream. It was a bit unreal. Fortunately, Chen Jianhao didn't want to get to the bottom of it. He pointed at the charming woman sitting beside him and said, "This is my cousin, Su Qing. She just opened a media company with someone else. She is interested in you, so she wants to talk about signing a contract with you." Lu Chen couldn't believe his ears. Sign a contract with a media company? This was something he had never dreamed of. Everything happened too fast, and good things came one after another. Su Qingmei laughed. "That's right, it's you. Let me introduce myself. I am the director of Light Rain Media Company, Su Qingmei. I like your song very much." She reached out her hand to Lu Chen. "You can call me Sister Mei." "Hello, Director Su." Lu Chen reached out and shook her hand. It was soft, and his heart couldn't help pounding. Su Qingmei smiled sweetly. She didn't correct Lu Chen's way of addressing her. She said, "Our Light Rain Media Company is mainly involved in artist management, film and television production, large-scale activities, new media, and other businesses. We are currently recruiting talented new artists. If you are willing, then we can sign a formal contract tomorrow." After the initial excitement, Lu Chen gradually calmed down. He asked, "Director Su, if it's convenient, can I see the content of the contract first?" If Lu Chen got the opportunity to sign a contract yesterday, he wouldn't have any hesitation. However, the current Lu Chen had the huge wealth of the world, and he had just been proved. So, although the temptation of signing a contract with a media company was great, it wasn't enough to make him lose his mind. Su Qingmei was a little surprised. She smiled and said, "Of course, there's no problem. I have a copy of the new artist's contract in my mobile phone. I'll open it for you to see. I can also send it to you via QQ." Lu Chen quickly said, "Then I'll trouble you to borrow Director Su's mobile phone. It'll be faster this way." It was better not to take out the broken mobile phone in his pocket to show his incompetence. Su Qingmei took out the mobile phone from her bag with the Chanel logo, unlocked it with her fingerprint, and then handed it to Lu Chen. On the 5.5-inch ultra-high-definition screen, the enlarged text was clearly displayed. The content of the new artist's contract was very long. It wasn't possible to read it all in a short time. However, Lu Chen roughly read a few clauses. The more he read, the more frightened he became. The harshness of this contract was far beyond his imagination. In the past, when Lu Chen read the news on the internet and browsed blogs, he often saw that certain actors, certain singers and entertainment agencies had conflicts and disputes, quarreling and fighting lawsuits. Among the reasons used by those stars to accuse their employers, there was always the contract signed by the two parties. It was too harsh, inhumane, had no freedom, was exploited. In short, it was all kinds of miserable. At that time, Lu Chen was just watching the excitement. He didn't really believe it. Every star knew how to act. Their tricks to gain sympathy were always the same. Everyone was used to it. But now that he had just come into contact with this industry, he knew that many things weren't all fake. This new artist's contract had to be signed for 10 years. Within 10 years, Lu Chen couldn't leave Light Rain Media Company. Moreover, the breach of contract was as high as 10 million. If he signed it, it meant that the best years of his life would all be sold to the other party. Just this clause alone made Lu Chen feel disgusted in his heart. Secondly, the contract stipulated that during the training and internship period, the new artist could only receive the legal minimum salary. There were no benefits or bonuses. They were also not allowed to work privately to earn extra money. Lu Chen thought that it would be better to find a piece of tofu and kill himself. In addition, after signing the contract, his portrait rights, creative copyrights, and other rights would all belong to the company. He would receive dividends based on his qualifications and performance. The minimum was only 10%. Luchin couldn't stand it anymore. Although there were many complicated clauses at the back. He handed the phone back to Su Qingmei and said, "Director Su, I'm really sorry. I don't want to sign this contract." But Su Qingmei frowned and asked, "You haven't finished reading before you made a decision. Aren't you too anxious?" Luchin tactfully replied, "The previous clauses are not suitable for my situation. I'm really sorry." His family owed a huge amount of debt. He worked hard in Beijing. Although it was tiring, at least his income was good. While maintaining his living, he could still send a lot of money back home every month. If he signed this contract, he wouldn't be able to live on in the future. The most important was the rights clause. According to the contract, the company would take all the copyrights of his songs. At most, they would give him some leftovers. If it was the previous Luchin, he might not care about this. But now that he had a huge treasury, how could he give it to others? Not to mention the clauses that restricted his freedom. But Su Qingmei didn't understand Lu Chen's thoughts. She thought that he was bargaining and was very unhappy. She thought for a moment and said, "If it's a problem with the clauses, all the entertainment, media, and management companies have similar contracts for new artists. As long as you sign this contract, our Light Rain Media will use a lot of resources to train, package, and promote you. Don't just look at the little benefits in front of you. Think about it carefully. Don't be impulsive and miss the opportunity." Su Qingmei really wanted to tell the brat in front of her that many people wanted this contract but couldn't get it. But Luchin didn't like her aggressive tone. He immediately retorted, "I'm really sorry, Director Su. Maybe I'm short-sighted now. If there's an opportunity in the future, let's cooperate again. You're beautiful, you're rich, and you're the director of a media company. But so what? I don't want anything from you. Why should I listen to you?" Luchin straightened his back and used his eyes to tell the other party that he refused and insisted. Although it wasn't easy to reject this beautiful director. Cooperate? Su Qingmei was so angry that she almost laughed. What a big mouth. So what if you're handsome? So what if you can play the piano and sing? You think you're great just because you wrote an original song? Too naive. If there was a glass of water in front of her, Su Qingmei would definitely pour it on Lu Chen's head to wake him up. Cough cough. Seeing that both parties were in a dispute and the atmosphere had become hostile, Chen Jianhao, who was sitting at the side, coughed twice and said, "Xiao Lu, how about this? You go back tonight and think about it. Tomorrow, there's no need for tomorrow." Su Qingmei frowned and stood up. She neatly stuffed her phone back into her bag. Her beautiful face revealed a proud expression. "Light Rain Media is just a small temple. I can't afford to invite such a great god. I'll leave first." As soon as she finished speaking, she turned her head and left. In the blink of an eye, she disappeared from the entrance of the bar. But no matter how one looked at her figure, there was a hint of resentment. Chen Jianhao and Lu Chen looked at each other speechlessly. The former sighed and said, "I didn't even pay for the wine." Lu Chen couldn't help but laugh. He had never seen his boss with such a humorous side. Chapter 7. You still dare to laugh? Chen Jianhao straightened his face and said, "Do you know that you're going to be miserable? My cousin isn't someone to be trifled with. If you offend her today, you'll have to suffer in the future." Although he said it seriously, Lu Chen didn't have any fear in his heart. He smiled and said, "Boss, do you mean that I should sign this contract?" "It's up to you whether you want to sign or not," Chen Jianhao waved his hand and said, "but from tonight onwards, you'll be a resident singer of Forget Worries Bar." Lu Chen was immediately overjoyed. "Thank you, boss." He was originally a part-time singer, belonging to the bottom of the bar singer circle. He didn't have a guaranteed salary and relied on a share of tips. If he was lucky, he could earn some hard work. If he was unlucky, he wouldn't even be able to sing a single song in a night. Resident singers were different. Although they also didn't have a fixed salary, they could guarantee their time on stage. Their share of tips was increased to 70%. In addition, they could also perform in other bars. Compared to part-time waiters and part-time singers, after becoming a resident singer, Luchin didn't need to do the work of serving tea and water to customers. Big increase in income. Sing well. Chen Jianhao opened a bottle of Qingwei and handed it to Luchin. He encouraged, Xiao Lu, if you can maintain your current standard and come up with a few outstanding original songs, I believe that sooner or later you'll stand out and become the first singer to walk out of Forget Worries bar. Chen Jianhao has never said such words to other singers in the bar, even to Zhang Nana or Qin Hanyang, who have signed a contract with Forget Worries bar. Both of them are much more experienced and famous than Lu Chen. Compared to Su Qingmei, he was more optimistic about Lu Chen's future. Lu Chen was moved. He took the beer and drank it all in one gulp. He put down the empty bottle, wiped the foam from the corner of his mouth, and sincerely said, Boss, if that day really comes, I'll buy some shares of Forget Worries bar from you, no matter how much it is. Chen Jianhao was stunned for a moment, then he laughed and said, Okay, then you can be a small boss, haha. He knew that this was Lu Chen's way of not forgetting his roots. However, Chen Jianhao did not take it too seriously. There were too many talented young people floating around in the capital. How many of them could really emerge? Most of them were unknown and eventually disappeared without a trace. Pointing his finger, Chen Jianhao said, Boss Xiao Lu, your customer is looking for you now. Go. Lu Chen turned around and saw a few familiar faces waving at him. As a bar singer, unless they were extremely famous, not many people would refuse to communicate with their customers. Everyone would drink and chat, talk about the physiological needs of musicians, and earn a share of the drinks. Most of the customers at the Forget Grass bar were well-mannered. Basically, they didn't have any dirty business. Lu Chen worked here because he liked the atmosphere here. Then I'll go. Lu Chen hesitated for a moment, then asked, Boss, the tips tonight, is it for the resident singer? Chen Jianhao was furious. F***ck off. Lu Chen covered his head and ran away like a rat. When he walked out of the Forget Grass bar, it was already close to midnight. In the capital in May, the night still had a trace of coolness. The night wind blew along the lonely pedestrian street, causing Lu Chen to instinctively shrink his head and almost sneezed. The temperature difference inside and outside the bar was a bit big, but his heart was on fire. The source of the heat came from the $4,700 bills in his shirt pocket, which were boiling hot. Although he had become a resident singer at the Forget Grass bar, Lu Chen still stood his last shift as a waiter and received his monthly salary. From the mouth of the cashier, Lu Chen found out that the waiter Xiao Gao, who didn't get along with him, had been fired by the boss. As for the reason, Fatty Yingguan, who ran out of the electronic room to get close to him for no reason, made him vaguely understand. In this regard, Lu Chen only wanted to laugh. He was not a narrow-minded person, but he was also not a virtuous saint. Seeing a guy he hated leave, he was naturally in a good mood. However, no matter how good it was, it couldn't beat the joy brought by the 47 new big red bills. 1/3 of the money was the waiter's salary. Because it was less than a month, it wasn't much. The other 2/3 came from the tips of the night customers, 70% of the resident singer's share. Chen Jianhao was a very good boss. Although he was very strict with his employees, he wasn't stingy in terms of treatment. For example, the singer's share of the tips was settled on the same day and not overnight. The 3,000 plus yuan of tips was the largest amount of extra income Lu Chen had received in the half a year of working at the Forget Grass bar. And this was only the beginning. Suddenly, Lu Chen was full of hope for his future. The gloominess and dejection between his eyebrows had completely dissipated. He took big strides towards the direction of the subway station. Like a youngster flying. Taking the last train at midnight, Lu Chen returned to his small dwelling. He took a simple shower and went to bed. A dreamless night. At 6:30 in the morning, Lu Chen woke up on time. He had 2 jobs, working more than 15 hours a day. Every month he only had 2 days of rest. Today was a rest Sunday. He could have slept in, but due to his biological clock, he still opened his eyes. Looking at the gray cement ceiling, he didn't feel sleepy at all. Lu Chen's heart was a bit scared. He was afraid that after he woke up, the things he obtained in his dream would disappear. The familiar yet strange memories quickly emerged in his mind, making his apprehension disappear. Getting out of bed, Luchin quickly put on his clothes and put on his old sports shoes. He hurriedly finished his personal cleaning work and left the basement. At this time, other people were still sleeping. Through the fireboard, he could hear the continuous snoring. They were all ants from Beijing. Sleeping until noon on a Sunday was the greatest enjoyment. Leaving the neighborhood, Luchin ran across the road to the river and then ran along the artificial riverbank. He was too busy with work and had too little rest. He didn't have the habit of morning exercise. Every morning he would run to the hourly KFC as exercise. But today he just wanted to run. Otherwise, his heart would feel empty and uncomfortable. At this moment, the sky was already bright. The green willow-shaded riverbank was still shrouded in a thin mist. There were already many people exercising on the trail and beside the roadside flower beds. Most of them were elderly. A few bird cages were hanging on the branches. Thrushes were jumping in the cages and making crisp and sweet chirps from time to time. After running quickly for more than 10 minutes, Lu Chen's physical strength was almost exhausted. Fine sweat appeared on his forehead. His breathing became heavy. His legs felt heavy as if they were filled with lead. His mouth was dry, and the smell of rust seeped out. It was the body's lack of long-term exercise that was protesting. After all, he usually ran for 4 or 5 minutes to work, and his speed was not this fast. However, there was still a voice in Lu Chen's mind that urged him, encouraged him, and supported him to continue running. For the future, he needed a healthy and strong body. So, with the support of a certain belief, Lu Chen gritted his teeth and continued to run until his footsteps slowly became light. He was still very young. Youth was the greatest asset, so anything was possible. When it was close to noon, Lu Chen returned to the basement. Of course, he didn't exercise the whole morning. He spent most of his time on daily chores. For example, depositing the money he earned last night into his bank card. Then, he went to the nearby shopping center to pick out a set of cheap sports clothes and shoes. Finally, he went to the supermarket to buy some daily necessities. After running back and forth and returning with a full load, Lu Chen's clothes were already soaked in sweat. His clothes were sticky and stuck to his body, making him very uncomfortable. However, he didn't have time to take a shower and change his clothes. He first turned on his computer and transferred the 4,000 renminbi that he had just deposited into his bank card to his mother, Fang Yun, and his sister, Lu Shui. In his pocket, there was only 300 renminbi left. However, Lu Chen wasn't worried because he was full of hope for the future. After completing the transfer, Lu Chen felt as if he had put down a huge burden. His whole body became relaxed, and at the same time he felt the accumulated fatigue and soreness in every part of his body. Today, he had really exercised a lot, completely exceeding his previous limits. It was inevitable that there would be repercussions. After taking off his sweaty clothes, Lu Chen prepared to take a shower. Ring, ring, ring. At this time, the phone on the small desk rang, and the caller ID kept flashing. Lu Chen didn't even look at the phone as he picked it up. "Bro, what are you doing?" From the other side of the phone came the familiar voice of his sister, Lu Shui. It was clear and sweet with the youthful aura of a young girl. Lu Shui was 17 years old this year. She was in the second year of high school in Lu Chen's hometown. Lu Chen replied, "I was about to take a shower before eating." Lu Shui replied with a N, and then asked, "Bro, did you get rich? Why did you transfer money to me?" "Kind of," Lu Chen smiled and said, "I earned more than 4,000 yesterday. I transferred 3,000 to Mom, and then I gave you 500 yuan for pocket money. Are you very touched? Tell me that I am the best brother in the world." "Go to hell." Across the phone, Lu Chen could also imagine his sister rolling her eyes. "You're not bad, but you don't have to give me so much. Mom gives me pocket money. You don't have to work so hard. Take care of your health." Listening to his sister's nagging on the phone, Lu Chen couldn't help but feel a little sad. Before the family accident, his sister, Lu Shui, was the little princess loved by the whole family. Usually, 500 yuan was not enough to buy her a pair of shoes. There was no need to push it around like now. "Well, you study hard. Call me if you need anything." After chatting for a few minutes and asking about the situation at home, Lu Chen ended the call with Lu Shui. He rushed into the small bathroom, closed the door and turned on the faucet. The cool tap water passed through the showerhead and turned into a small water column, hitting him. Lu Chen closed his eyes, and the memories of the past emerged in his mind. Chapter 8. Lu Chen's hometown is in Binhai City in Zhejiang, which is a beautiful seaside town. His father, Lu Qingxing, started his business very early. When Lu Chen was in primary school, he was already a well-known entrepreneur in Binhai City. Although Lu Chen did not grow up with a silver spoon, he could barely be considered a rich second generation. However, the weather was unpredictable. In the second year of Lu Chen's studies at Jianghai University, due to the outbreak of the international financial crisis, the operation of local foreign trade enterprises in Binhai City was severely affected. Lu Qingxing's business suffered a huge loss and was facing the danger of bankruptcy. A large sum of money could not be collected, banks and suppliers came to his door, and eventually led to the rupture of his capital chain. The company's assets were liquidated, his villa was auctioned, and even his car was towed away. Although Lu Qingxing tried his best to turn the tide, he was mentally and physically exhausted and fell ill. As a result, he soon passed away, leaving behind his wife, Fang Yun, and his 3 children, Lu Shi, Lu Chen, and Lu Shui. As a result, Lu Chen's fate changed dramatically. He went from a rich family that everyone envied to a poor family. Even his girlfriend abandoned him, and he had to rely on part-time work to make a living. In the case of losing the backbone of the family, his mother, Fang Yun, a gentle, kind, and strong woman, stood up bravely and shouldered all the responsibilities. Fang Yun sold all the family property, including her dowry jewelry, and moved to a rented house with her children. She signed a repayment agreement with the creditors and began to work hard for a new life. After the initial pain and the torture of failure, Lu Chen did not give up and sink into despair. In order to help his family pay off this huge debt, he applied for social practice in advance at the beginning of the senior year. With 800 yuan saved from working, he went north alone to the capital to work hard. Until now, the water flowed, washing his body, and drops of water splashed on the stained floor tiles. As if sprinkled in Lu Chen's heart, the difficult memories grew wildly like weeds, occupying his mind. "You said you cried like a child. You won't love me even a little more." Suddenly, a ghostly wail and wolf howl pierced through the wall and rushed into Lu Chen's ears like a demonic voice. Holy shit! He was so scared that he couldn't help but shiver. He quickly turned off the tap and wiped the water off his body with a towel. The singing next door was still going on, making Lu Chen have the urge to cry. However, the sadness brought about by the memories of the past was diluted a lot. He dried his hair and hurriedly changed into a set of clean clothes. Then, he left the house and ran to the house next door. He reached out and knocked on the door, but no one answered. However, the door was not closed, and the helpless howls continued to come out from the gap. "Li Gu, what are you doing?" Lu Chen pushed the door open and shouted into the room, "You'll be fined for noise pollution." This room belonged to Li Feiyu, a salesman at a car dealership in Beijing. He had a good relationship with Lu Chen. Lu Chen knew that Li Feiyu loved pop music and would often sing at the top of his voice. However, he had never been so passionate as he was today. He simply couldn't live. If he continued to sing, the tenants in the other rooms would probably run over to protest. The scene that appeared in front of him made Lu Chen stunned. Although they were in the same basement and had the same partition, Li Feiyu's room was undoubtedly more luxurious than Lu Chen's. The floor was covered with composite flooring, the walls were all covered with wallpaper, the Simmons bed and other furniture were all new, and there was even a small fridge in the corner. He saw Li Feiyu sitting in front of a computer, wearing headphones and singing into a microphone with a face full of infatuation. The 24-inch LCD screen showed the live video taken by the camera, and there were a few rows of flashing subtitles. What was he doing? Lu Chen curiously walked over and reached out his hand to pat his shoulder. Wow! The unprepared Li Feiyu jumped up in fright, almost knocking the microphone away. Seeing that it was Lu Chen, Li Feiyu let out a big sigh of relief. He quickly took off his headphones, patted his chest and said, "Scared me to death, Xiao Lu, why did you come? Were you attracted by my singing?" He chuckled, a smug expression on his face. Lu Chen disdainfully said, "Attracted? I came to see how you'll be beaten to death." At this time, he noticed that his image appeared on the LCD screen, and the number of comments suddenly increased. Wow! A handsome man came. Brother Fei, I'm looking for a handsome man. QQ signal, length, size, nude photo. Could it be that the host's breeder came to feed him? What breeder? It's obviously engine oil, the host's good engine oil. I want to listen to singing, I don't want a handsome guy. I want to listen to singing, I don't want a handsome guy. 23333333333. As the comments increased, the screen began to flash with stars, shining in all directions, very beautiful. In the information bar on the right side of the screen, a row of system messages appeared. System notification. Crystal Jelly, Bronze 2, gifted the host 100 starlight. System notification. Crystal Jelly, Bronze 2, gifted the host 100 starlight. System notification. No Plane Tonight, Black Iron V, gifted the host 100 starlight. System notification. New Yorker, Silver 4, gifted the host 100 starlight. System notification. New Yorker, Silver 4, gifted the host 100 starlight. System notification. New Yorker, Silver 4, gifted the host 100 starlight. System notification. New Yorker, Silver 4, gifted the host 100 starlight. System notification. Lu Chen was a little dumbfounded, but he finally understood. In the past 1 or 2 years, a new form of mass entertainment appeared on the internet, and that was the internet nationwide live broadcast. In the beginning, the national live broadcast was mainly aimed at online games. Many gaming experts would broadcast their own games or competitions on the live broadcast platform as a host, in order to earn popularity and reward income. As the national live broadcast closely followed the entertainment needs of netizens, it quickly flourished. Famous live broadcast platforms such as Sky Live Broadcast, Whale TV, Amazing Star Dreams, and a large number of other types of hosts emerged. Moreover, the format of the live broadcast was no longer limited to games. Singing, dancing, playing musical instruments, talk shows, and all kinds of outdoor life content appeared one after another, attracting a large number of netizens to participate. Lu Chen studied computer science in university. Although he had been busy working for the past 2 years and rarely went online, he still had some understanding of the national live broadcast. It was just that he didn't have the time to come into contact with it before. Li Feiyu was undoubtedly doing a live broadcast. He was the so-called internet host. But what made Lu Chen puzzled was, with Li Feiyu's broken voice that could scare away the whole street, why would anyone come to listen to him sing? And it seemed like there were quite a number of people who came to listen to Lu Chen sing. The status bar at the top of the screen showed that the number of followers of the host, Peter Pan ABC, was 1,425, and the number of online popularity had actually reached 287, more than the number of customers who listened to Lu Chen sing at Forget Worries bar last night. It wasn't that he didn't understand, but the change in the online world was really too fast. Lu Chen was in a daze. Li Feiyu laughed loudly, leaned his head over to the microphone and said, "Thank you everyone for your tips. Let me introduce to everyone, this is my good brother, Xiao Lu. Xiao Lu, say hello to everyone." Lu Chen hadn't come to his senses yet, and subconsciously nodded and said, "Hello everyone." A new barrage immediately appeared on the screen. Handsome pot mud howl, same sex seeking a relationship. Xiaolu? What a cute name, I like it. Xiaolu, 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 Xiaolu. 3 black lines suddenly appeared on Lu Chen's forehead. Li Feiyu laughed and said, "Not the Xiaolu, it's the Lu from Land and Army." Although Xiao Lu isn't as handsome as Brother Fei, his singing level has already reached 10% of Brother Fei's. Does everyone want to hear him sing? If you do, then give more starlight. Just as he finished speaking, the barrage and starlight floated up at the same time. What? Don't want. Don't want. Don't want. Don't want. Don't want. Don't want. Brother Fei is here to cheat Starlight again. Host sells engine oil, earns $1 million a month. I want to hear a handsome pot sing. System notification. New Yorker, Silver 4, gifted host 100 Starlight. System notification. New Yorker, Silver 4, gifted host 100 Starlight. System notification. New Yorker, Silver 4, gifted host 100 Starlight. System notification. New Yorker, Silver 4, gifted host 100 Starlight. System notification. New Yorker, Silver 4, gifted host 100 Starlight. System notification. New Yorker, Silver 4, gifted host 100 Starlight. System notification. The ID New Yorker is probably a nouveau riche. He actually gave 100 Starlight combo in one go, gifting 10,000 Starlight. Li Feiyu was so happy that he couldn't close his mouth. Both his hands pressed down on Lu Chen's shoulders and let him sit in his seat. Then he smiled and said, "Xiao Lu, watch the stage first. I'll go get the guitar for you." After saying that, this guy ran off. Lu Chen didn't know whether to laugh or cry, but he didn't feel disgusted. This was the first time he came into contact with a live broadcast. Thinking about his own image appearing on hundreds of computer screens and interacting with hundreds of people at the same time, it was very refreshing. While waiting for Li Feiyu, he did a simple research on this Starlight Show broadcasting platform and discovered that there were many functions inside. But before Lu Chen could finish his research, Li Feiyu couldn't wait to send his guitar over. This Peter Pan helped Lu Chen adjust the microphone, turned off the music that was playing on the computer, and even brought mineral water. He was so attentive that he almost made the bed and massaged his legs and back. Lu Chen hugged the guitar and sat in front of the computer. Facing the microphone and the camera, he slowly calmed down. His idea was very simple. He wanted to support Li Feiyu, and at the same time, satisfy his curiosity by experiencing a live broadcast. At this moment, Lu Chen would never have thought that his life would take a different path because of this. Chapter 9. A desk, a computer, a camera, and a microphone. Just like that, Lu Chen's first live broadcast on StarryLive's live streaming platform began in a simple manner. Facing the microphone, he sang Blue Crystal. Blue Crystal was a classic that many people were familiar with a few years ago. The lyrics were catchy and coupled with a beautiful melody, it was one of the most popular songs in the KTV room. Lu Chen had used the guitar to sing many times in the past, so he had already memorized the lyrics. And now, with Lu Chen's skill in playing and singing, after experiencing the long dream that night, he was like the legendary youth who fell off a cliff and had a fortuitous encounter. He had mastered the divine art of rebirth, and dealing with such a scene was simply a piece of cake. Tomorrow I will go far away, embarking on a journey that will never return. Do you still remember the blue crystal I gave you? Your real name is engraved on it. As Lu Chen's clear, clean, and slightly sad voice sounded, the comments on the screen decreased a lot. But this situation only lasted for a moment. Beautiful. Blue Crystal? It's my favorite song. Xiao Lu's guitar playing is really good, sincerely begging for a master, begging for a secret manual. I'm so touched. I can obviously rely on my face to make a living, but I have to rely on my strength. I'm Piafus. I'm finished. After listening to this handsome guy, how am I going to face Brother Fei's ugly face and broken voice in the future? System notification. New Yorker, Silver 4, gifted host 100 stars. System notification. New Yorker, Silver 4, gifted host 100 stars. System notification. New Yorker began to crazily spam the screen. In the blink of an eye, he sent out another 10,000 stars. Once again, it easily covered a few sporadic tips. Lu Chen calmly finished singing, then said to the microphone, "Thank you, New Yorker friend, for your support." He now had a basic understanding of the rules of live streaming. To put it bluntly, it was no different from singing on the stage of a bar. However, the world of the internet was vast and boundless. The number of fans and listeners in Starlight Show was obviously incomparable to the number of customers in Forget Grass Bar. At the end of the song, Lu Chen noticed that the number of followers of the host, Peter Pan, ABC, had increased to 1,623, and his popularity had surged to 548. There was a significant increase, indicating that his singing could attract and retain people. This gave him a sense of pride. He coughed twice and said, "Please listen, Soaring Pigeon." For the second song, Lu Chen still chose Soaring Pigeon. Compared to the previous Blue Crystal, Lu Chen had a better grasp of Soaring Pigeon. Although the difficulty of the latter was much higher than Blue Crystal, it gave him a chance to show off his skills. Using the little finger to slide the strings, he quickly changed his hand shape, followed by continuous hooks, plus the long span in the middle. As for the chord, needless to say, he even added random patterns to the original score. Li Fei, who was sitting at the side, was dazzled by what he saw and listened with his mouth agape. He had heard Lu Chen sing and seen Lu Chen play, but never had he been so shocked. It felt like Lu Chen was a different person. He used to be an amateur, but now he was a professional performer. The difference was like heaven and earth. On the computer screen, there was a flood of comments. Although the popularity was only around 500, the momentum of the comments and the sparkling stars made the enthusiasm no less than those popular hosts. Oh, this is great. 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 6666666666666666666. Peter Pan, I love you. Haha, you're new, right? This is not Peter Pan, it's Xiao Lu, Xiao Lu, Xiao Lu. Repeat that 3 times. Did I miss something? Li Feiyu was speechless. In the past, when he was broadcasting, the highest number of viewers exceeded 1,500, which was nearly 3 times the current number. However, the number of comments was at least 10 times worse. As for the gifts, how could the gap between people be so big? Peter Pan ABC silently cried in his heart. This was really an era where looks were the most important. Lu Chen, on the other hand, did not have so many thoughts. He seriously played and sang Soaring Pigeon. He also felt very satisfied. System notification. New Yorker, Silver 4, gifted the host 100 stars. System notification. New Yorker, Silver 4, gifted the host 100 stars. System notification. System notification. Prophecy Emperor Li by Gold 2, gifted the host 1 interstellar battleship. Originally, New Yorker was spamming the screen with Starlight, but the sudden appearance of Prophecy Emperor Li by sent out an interstellar battleship. With an incomparably tyrannical aura, it crushed thousands of stars and became the focus of everyone's attention. Li Feiyu jumped in fright and stammered, "What? Battleship? Battleship?" Lu Chen didn't understand at first, but when he saw the new comments, he understood. Interstellar battleship. Truly unparalleled nouveau riche. Which GG can tell me, what is an interstellar battleship? Interstellar battleship is equivalent to 100,000/1T Starlight, which is $1,000. Nouveau riche, please help me. Hubby, 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 hubby. Lu Chen was speechless. In the Starlight show, 100 Starlight was equivalent to $1. Previously, when New Yorker sent out a 100-star combo, it was a $100 tip. Just now, he thought that New Yorker was rich and willful, but now, Prophecy Emperor Li Bai immediately refreshed his worldview. A $1,000 tip. After gifting the interstellar battleship, Prophecy Emperor Li Bai succinctly typed 3 words, "Well sung." It was also very cool. Lu Chen came back to his senses and quickly said, "Thank you, Prophecy Emperor Li Bai, for your tips, and friends from New Yorker, thank you all. I will present you with an original song called You Who Sat Next to Me. I hope everyone likes it." Originally, he planned to end after singing 2 songs, but his stomach was already protesting. But now that Prophecy Emperor Li Bai had gifted him the interstellar battleship, he was too embarrassed to leave. Original? Xiao Lu can write his own songs? 666666666666666. Catch the mud together? Mud your sister, it should be you who sat next to me. Did you put glue in your ears? My deskmate is gay. Lu Chen looked at the bullet screen with incomparable joy. This was too interesting. It was completely different from the atmosphere in the bar. The level of interaction was very high. At this time, he noticed that the number of popularity displayed on the screen had increased exponentially, from the original 500 plus to 1400 plus, and it was still increasing. On the contrary, there was not much change in the star fans, at least not as shocking an increase. Later, Lu Chen found out that this was the so-called nouveau riche effect. When a nouveau riche gifted a heavy prop, the website would flash a red celebratory bullet screen in most of the other live broadcast rooms. Through this bullet screen, one could directly enter the live broadcast room, so the popularity would increase. But whether or not the attracted visitors could become real fans depended on the ability of the host. Tomorrow, will you remember the diary you wrote yesterday? Tomorrow, will you still remember the you who loved to cry the most, singing You Who Sat Next to Me? Again, Lu Chen did not brew too much emotion. But this classic folk song from the dream world, under his playing and singing, was transmitted to the computer through the microphone, and then transmitted to the online audience's expensive or cheap computers, tablets, and mobile phones. Finally, it was restored with the help of different quality sound systems and headphones. It still had an unstoppable charm. The originally noisy and lively screen quieted down, and Lu Chen's singing was like a gurgling stream, flowing in the small room and into the hearts of many people. Who met the sentimental you, who comforted the you who loved to cry. Who read the letter I wrote to you, who threw it in the wind. Halfway through the song, the bullet screen gradually increased. I suddenly have a feeling of wanting to cry, so annoying. Sand in my eyes. Chin Qian, I love you, 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 I love you. I think of my deskmate in high school, I wonder how she is now. None of you stop me, tomorrow I will confess to my deskmate. Alright, he's a guy too. I miss the past, I miss the times when I was studying, I feel like crying too. What's the name of this song? It's very nice, I've never heard it before. The song is called My Boyfriend, Ask Again and Commit Suicide. You deskmate, original by the host. If the previous bullet screen was filled with amusing youths, then the current style was that of artistic youths. Some were moved, some were nostalgic, some were melancholic, and some were sad. Even if it was the first time listening, one's soul would still be touched. This was the charm of music. This was the magic of classics. There were no soft moans, no impassioned high notes. A song of You Deskmate came out from Lu Chen's fingertips, and he sang it slowly, moving everyone who heard it. Until the end of the song, countless stars shone. System notification. Sweet Baby, Bronze Eye, gifted the host 100 stars. System notification. Polio 1990, Iron 7, gifted the host 100 stars. System notification. Crystal Jelly, Bronze 2, gifted the host 100 stars. System notification. Leisurely Walking the World, Silver Eye, gifted the host 1 meteor. System notification. Invincible Iron Fist, Iron 3, gifted the host 100 stars. System notification. Unlike the tycoons who flooded the screen earlier, the number of viewers who watched Starlight this time had increased greatly. The number of viewers online had already exceeded 1,900, and the number of Starlight fans had jumped to 2,700 plus, reaching 2722. They were very close to the 3,000 mark. Thank you everyone. Lu Chen put down the guitar in his arms and said, That's all for today, goodbye. The bullet screen was filled with words of reluctance, urging him to stay, and asking him to sing a few more songs. There were even people who sent out a large amount of stars and meteors. Thank you. Lu Chen was really touched, but he still stood up. He couldn't just not eat, right? Li Feiyu hurried over, put his palms together, and bowed to the audience to express his apologies, then turned off the live broadcast. He grabbed Lu Chen's shoulder with one hand and wiped the non-existent tears off his face with the other. He said earnestly, Brother, I'll treat Chef Chen this afternoon, let's go eat to our heart's content. Chapter 10. After exiting the east gate of Jingming Community, they crossed the road and walked south along the sidewalk for 50 meters, then turned right into Willow Lane. If they kept going forward, they would reach Master Chen's private kitchen. Master Chen was from Huainan. He was not a professional chef, but he could cook excellent Huaiyang cuisine. After he retired a few years ago, he settled down in Beijing with his wife in order to take care of his grandchildren. It was not easy to live in Beijing, and the daily expenses were high. Therefore, Master Chen rented an old house in Willow Lane and opened a private kitchen. He relied on his skills and conscience to attract business and earn some living expenses. In the courtyard of a shabby house deep in the old lane, there were 5 to 6 wooden tables and dozens of dining chairs. When Lu Chen and Li Feiyu sneaked in, the inside was basically full. There was no space at all. The business was too good. Fortunately, Li Feiyu often visited. He called Master Chen's wife, who worked as a part-time waitress, Auntie. His sweet words made her smile, and he finally got an extra seat in the small courtyard. A student's desk and 2 plastic stools. There was nothing good. But both Li Feiyu and Lu Chen were very satisfied. Master Chen's private kitchen was really a model of cheap and good quality. Many gluttons came to reserve seats before it was time to eat. If it was not for Li Feiyu's eloquence, he would not have been able to get an extra seat. Braised lion's head, 3 sets of duck, squirrel mandarin fish, boiled shredded dried fish, and 2 cages of crab meat buns were all authentic Huaiyang cuisine. Coupled with 4 bottles of Yendu beer, Lu Chen, who had not tasted meat for a long time, ate with tears streaming down his face. When the plates were mostly empty and 3 bottles of beer were finished, Li Feiyu, who was full of food and drink, started to talk. He was talking about live streaming. Li Fei had been streaming online for more than a month. He had also specially purchased a high-quality microphone and a high-definition camera. He wanted to show off on the internet and earn some money along the way. His first live broadcast was on Whale TV. He walked the path of a game anchor. Unfortunately, he was terrible at the 3 most popular online games on Whale TV, CG Hero City State, and Planet Overlord. After half a month, there were only a few viewers, and he couldn't even earn back his electricity bill. Half a month ago, he switched to Starlight Show. He did not play games, but instead went on a lifestyle show. He told jokes with others, sang songs, and showed off his ugly looks. He actually gained some popularity and earned a full 0.3T of Starlight. 0.3T was equivalent to 30,000 Starlight points, which was equivalent to $300. However, according to StarryLive's rules, wild anchor like Li Fei, who had yet to sign a contract, could only receive 50% of the profits. Well, he had earned back his electricity bill. Working hard for 2 weeks was not as good as moving bricks for a day. Talking about his sad life as an anchor, Peter Pan's bitterness flowed endlessly. He wanted to stop but could not. Lu Chen could not help but shed tears of sympathy. Xiao Lu, do you know? Li Feiyu drank a big mouthful of beer and said, "Our company's Xiao Mei earned more than 20,000 to 30,000 yuan from Starlight Show last month. That's 5 to 6 times more than her salary at the 4S store. She won't be coming to work next month." Lu Chen knew about Xiao Mei. She was the receptionist at the 4S store where Li Feiyu worked. She had big eyes, an all-like face, a slender waist, and long legs. Most importantly, she was 20 years old and did not have a boyfriend. She could be called a flower in the company. She had undoubtedly become the target of many crazy bees and butterflies, and she had many secret admirers. The reason why Lu Chen knew about her so well was not because he knew her, but because he had heard about her from Li Feiyu many times. Yes, this guy was one of the members of Xiao Mei's secret admirers. Is she very talented? Lu Chen asked curiously. Li Feiyu explained, she doesn't know how to sing or dance. She only does live broadcasts of makeup, eating, acting cute, chatting. Lu Chen was speechless. That was possible? It's really possible. Li Feiyu perked up and said, "Don't talk about acting cute and chatting. Starlight Show has live broadcasts of sleeping, watching TV, cooking, writing, and writing novels. There's nothing you can't think of, but there's nothing you can't do." Xiao Lu, with your talent and ability, you really have a bright future in Starlight Show. He became serious and said, right now, the 7 most popular celebrities in Starlight Show have a monthly income of at least 100,000 and above. The biggest celebrity, Yen Mani, is said to have signed for more than 5 million. She has also endorsed many commercials, and the number of viewers in Starlight Show has reached 2 million. Can you imagine how much she usually earns from tips? Lu Chen could not help but nod. He had only borrowed Li Feiyu's account to play around, and it seemed like he had earned quite a lot from tips. 2 million plus Starlight fans. Just thinking about it was scary. Li Feiyu smiled bitterly and said, "It's impossible for me to do that, but Xiao Lu, you're different. You sing well, you're handsome, and you can even write your own songs. You really have the potential to be a big hit in Starlight Show. Let's not talk about anything else. Just now you sang 3 songs and I saw that the tips were 2.8T. If you withdraw it immediately, you can get 1,400 yuan. Don't you think it's better than working in KFC, and better than working in a bar?" Lu Chen was really tempted. His family owed a huge amount of debt. If he only relied on himself to work part-time, he probably would not be able to pay it off in this lifetime. It was the same even with his family. Right now, he already had a treasure trove, but it was not easy to exchange this treasure trove for actual benefits. Just think about the harsh contract that Su Qingmei took out. For a nobody like him to make it in this circle, just having talent and talent was far from enough. And a broadcasting platform like Starlight Show, which belonged to the grassroots, was undoubtedly a shortcut to making money. Li Feiyu struck while the iron was hot and continued, "Xiao Lu, I don't plan to play anymore. I'll give you my Starlight account. You can change my name and information, and I'll also give you my broadcasting equipment. Anyway, it's useless." Lu Chen was shocked and quickly said, "How can I do that? Why not?" Li Feiyu stared and said, "This is called reasonable use of resources and I won't lose out. I won't give you the share of the tips in my account, or else I won't get this price even if I sell it secondhand." Although that was what Li Feiyu said, Lu Chen knew that even if the 2 equipment were sold at a discount, it would not be worth 1,000 yuan. Moreover, the account was originally his. "Li Gu, if you're a brother, then don't talk nonsense." Li Feiyu waved his hand and said domineeringly, "Then it's decided. If you really appreciate Brother Li's kindness, then when you become a big star, let me be your assistant that runs errands for you." Lu Chen didn't know whether to laugh or cry. "Li Gu, you're drunk." **T. Li Feiyu said disdainfully, 2 bottles of yen dough can make me drunk? Adding a 0 is more like it. Let's not talk anymore, we'll go back and change our account now. Bill. He paid the bill, and then dragged Lu Chen back to the rented apartment. Back in the basement, Li Feiyu couldn't wait to turn on his computer and log into his account again. He first withdrew the 3T of Starlight points in his account, and then began to change his information. Starlight Show's anchor platform allowed anchors to change their information, including the account's nickname, password, mobile phone, eFubao information, etc. Therefore, it was very convenient to change it to Lu Chen's name. Of course, anchors rarely changed their nicknames as it would affect their popularity. In addition, they would have to send messages to inform their Starlight fans. Therefore, it was more troublesome. As it was Lu Chen's first time playing, he didn't suffer any losses when he took over Li Feiyu's account, and he still retained the popularity he earned in the morning. "Xiao Lu, change your anchor's nickname first." Li Feiyu rubbed his hands and reminded, "It must be domineering, it must be able to shock the audience." Lu Chen chuckled. He used the keyboard to enter his name, Lu Chen, and a notification immediately popped up. Nickname taken. Lu Chen changed it to Xiao Lu, but it was still taken. Li Feiyu laughed and said, "All the good names are taken by dogs." I originally wanted to register as Peter Pan, but it was also taken. Lu Chen thought for a while and typed in Lu Fei. To his surprise, this name actually passed and showed that it could be used. He pressed the confirm button without hesitation, and the change was successful. Lu Fei? Li Feiyu was surprised and immediately became excited. This name is good. Lu was Lu Chen's and Fei was Li Feiyu's Fei. Although Li Feiyu didn't want to play the anchor show anymore, he still had a lot of feelings for this account. He really hoped that Lu Chen would carry it forward and become a shining star in Starlight Show. Because of this, when he saw Lu Chen change the nickname Lu Fei, he was excited and touched. He couldn't help but punch Lu Chen on the shoulder. "Good brother." Lu Chen smiled and didn't say anything. He used this name as a nickname. In addition to his relationship with Li Feiyu, the most important reason was because of a sentence that just sounded in his mind. "I am the man who will become the Pirate King." Really domineering. After changing the nickname, this anchor account was completely owned by Lu Chen. Lu Chen didn't start the live broadcast immediately, but first familiarized himself with the various functions of the live broadcast platform. Logging into the anchor account, he naturally had all the permissions of the live broadcast room, such as the basic settings, accompaniment, subtitles, kicking people, muting, blessing, leaving messages, and other functions. With Li Feiyu's guidance, he naturally got the hang of it very quickly. Then, Lu Chen sent a message to all the fans he followed, informing them of the name change. Interestingly, there were hundreds of messages in his anchor mailbox, most of which were just sent not long ago. They were greetings from his fans, praising, flattering, asking for his QQ number, and begging to hug his thighs. Then in less than half a minute, new messages came back one after another, all expressing congratulations and joy. "Great, I'm finally no longer tortured by Peter Pan's demonic voice, scattering flowers. Lu Fei, I like this name, good luck handsome. When will you start the live broadcast? I still want to listen to you, my desk mate, 10,000 times. Support to the end." Lu Chen was very happy and felt that it was more and more interesting. Li Feiyu said, "You can sign a contract when you have more than 10,000 fans. The proportion of the contract is different according to the level of the anchor. According to the speed of your fan growth, you should be able to meet the minimum requirements after 2 more live broadcasts." Lu Chen nodded, his eyes flashing with the light from the screen. Like a bright star. Chen Jianhao once said in private that the reason why Sister Na hasn't become popular for more than 20 years, other than her appearance, is because she hasn't met a good song that belongs to her, and she hasn't met a real music talent scout. If not for this, he wouldn't be able to recruit Sister Na and let her sing in Forget Worries Bar. However, Sister Na's temperament is very open-minded, and she doesn't have that kind of melancholy of not being recognized. Whether it is the most ordinary waiter in the bar, or the most famous bionics, her attitude is always warm and friendly. Because of this, her relationship with others is also the best. Lu Chen's relationship with Sister Na is also very good. When he was able to sing on stage in Forget Worries Bar, it was because of this big sister that he was able to get Chen Jianhao to agree. For this, Lu Chen has always been grateful. With Sister Na taking the lead, the others also expressed their congratulations. They all know that Lu Chen is already a resident singer. Originally in Forget Grass Bar, Lu Chen was the only requested singer, and his position was the lowest. But now, he can at least sit on the same level as Li Hong and Yi Zhenyang, and enjoy the same treatment. Sister Na, Xiao Lu sang an original song last night. Li Hong said with a smile. It was a full house win, and there are people who want to sign him into their entertainment company. Although it sounded like an ordinary conversation, there was a hint of jealousy in his tone that couldn't be concealed. Other than Sister Na, Yi Zhenyang and Wang Xiaoshuai's expression are not natural. Forget Grass Bar isn't big, and the number of staff and singers are not many, so once there is any news, it will quickly spread throughout the small circle. Last night, Lu Chen won the love of all the customers with his original song, You Who Sat Next to Me, and he also got the favor of Light Rain Media, who wanted to sign him as a new artist to groom and package him. If it was only this, they would at most be envious and jealous. After all, in the circle of Hohai, there is no lack of singers who were recognized by others, and then soared to the sky. Lu Chen is undoubtedly one of the lucky ones. But what made people dumbfounded is that Lu Chen actually rejected it. This made them unable to understand. This is a precious opportunity that others yearn for, but Lu Chen actually did not cherish it? How can they accept this? Yi Zhenyang laughed. So unfortunately, Xiao Lu's ambition is a bit too high, or else in the future when he becomes a big star, he can also bring a contract with him and let us bask in the glory. Compared to Li Hong, he is even more unhappy with Lu Chen, and if he doesn't say a few sour words, he will feel uncomfortable. 2 days ago, Lu Chen was still a small shrimp that he can ignore, but now, not only has he become a resident singer like him, but he is even more eye-catching than him. Lu Chen secretly frowned. Yi Zhenyang said such words, it's not good for him to be serious, but it's also not good for him not to be serious, and he also doesn't want to be hypocritical. Xiao Lu will definitely become a big star in the future. Sister Na patted Lu Chen's shoulder and said, last night I came late and didn't hear you sing the song you wrote. Tonight you must sing it again. Lu Chen quickly said, okay, please give me some pointers, Sister Na. Compared to others, Sister Na's attitude towards Lu Chen was undoubtedly more sincere, and helped him out of the predicament with just a few words. Yi Zhenyang and the others would definitely not dare to provoke him. Sister Na laughed. I don't dare to give you pointers, Xiao Lu. If you have such talent, you should show it earlier, and then write a good song for your Sister Na. How about it? Lu Chen thought for a moment, and said seriously, okay. His serious reply made Sister Na stunned. What she said just now was actually a joke, and she didn't really want to ask Lu Chen for a song. Nowadays, it is not easy to write original songs, and the domestic atmosphere is not suitable for original songs. Other than a few real big names, many professional songwriters can't even produce 1 or 2 excellent songs in a few years. For an amateur songwriter like Lu Chen, it is already a great fortune for him to be able to produce a good song by chance. How can he continuously write wonderful works, and moreover, it is tailor-made? She thought that Lu Chen was also joking, but seeing that Lu Chen's attitude was very serious, she couldn't help but be surprised. Of course, as an experienced person, Sister Na was only stunned for a moment, and immediately laughed, then I will wait for your song. She didn't continue to dwell on this topic, and clapped her hands, it's almost time, I will arrange the performance tonight. Xiao Shuai, you can sing 2 songs first. Boss Chen Jianhao is not here, so Sister Na is the little boss. Other than the bionics, whether it is Li Hong or Yi Zhenyang, they all have to listen to her, and no one will raise any objections to her arrangements. Even the lead singer of the bionics, Qin Hanyang, is polite to Sister Na. Because it is the last night of the weekend, after 8 o'clock, there are more and more customers in Forget Grass Bar, and most of them are university students. Near Hohai is the university city, and there are more than 10 famous universities in the country, including Zhongyin and Jingyin. Many university students like to visit the bars in Hohai and Sanlitun, especially couples. After eating dinner on the pedestrian street, they will come over and occupy a table for 2, and then order a few cocktails or beer, and at the same time enjoy the live performance. The cost is not much, but it is very romantic. Seeing that the bar is almost full, the host quickly went out to warm up the crowd, and Wang Xiaoshuai then started singing. When it is Lu Chen's turn to appear, it is already 9 o'clock at night. Just as he sat down on the stage with his guitar, a customer immediately whistled loudly. Xiao Lu, sing, you who sat next to me! Lu Chen smiled and nodded. To be able to blow the hoodlum whistle so enchantingly, it can only be that regular customer. That is a regular customer who likes to tease little kids. Of course, I have to give him face. Tonight, the first song I will bring to everyone is a song that I wrote myself. He lightly plucked the strings and said to the microphone, you who sat next to me, I hope everyone will like it. Just as Lu Chen's voice fell, someone immediately shouted, sing it twice. Cheerful laughter sounded in the bar, like the ripples of a stone thrown into the water. Many of the new customers were surprised, because they have never heard this song before, and it was an original. Naturally, they did not understand why the regular customers were so enthusiastic, and this kind of enthusiasm is rare in Forget Grass Bar, at least not for a young singer like Lu Chen. Lu Chen did not say much nonsense, and after playing the prelude he began to sing for the night. Tomorrow will you remember the diary you wrote yesterday? His voice seemed to have magic. Under the accompaniment of the guitar, it quickly changed the atmosphere in the bar, the whispers, the touching of wine glasses, and even the ringing of cell phones gradually disappeared. Whether it was the regular customers or the new customers, they all quietly listened to Lu Chen singing. To the regular customers, this song, You Who Sat Next to Me, was played better by Lu Chen, and the singing was more emotional. They even closed their eyes and used their hearts to feel the emotions contained in the song, memories, melancholy, nostalgia. For the new customers, the first time they heard You Who Sat Next to Me, first of all, it was very fresh, and second, it was very good. Then they were deeply moved. The charm of a classic song can ignore the barriers of time and space. Even in a different world, it can still shine with dazzling brilliance. In a short 5 or 6 minutes, Forget Grass Bar was extremely quiet. Until the end of the song, after a while, the warm applause exploded. Chapter 12. When Lu Chen went up the stage, Xiaomi was sitting at table 035, which was not far from the stage. Nibbling on the straw inserted into the ice cream, her gaze wandered around the faces of the other 3 girls at the same table with an obedient look of, I'll just watch and I won't say anything. But her spirited eyes revealed a trace of craftiness and mischievousness, exposing her true nature. Xiaomi's full name was Mi Xian. This nickname was given to her by her roommate. She was a first-year student at Beijing Normal University and had just celebrated her 19th birthday a few days ago. Tonight, she originally planned to go to the library to review her homework, but in the end, she was forcefully dragged to Hohai by her big sister, second sister, and third sister. They said that they wanted to see more handsome guys before they said goodbye to their first year. The atmosphere of this bar called Forget Worries Bar was not bad. Xiaomi had been to Sanlaton's bar before, but the crazy, depraved, and irritable atmosphere had frightened her, who was used to playing the role of an obedient girl and had a little rebellious in her heart. Hohai Bar was undoubtedly much quieter and peaceful, and of course, much more bourgeois. But where are the handsome guys? Where are the handsome guys? The singer who just went down was very young, and his singing was not bad, but he liked to flirt, probably thinking that he was very handsome and charming, and kept throwing flirtatious glances at the customers. Xiaomi took a sip of her ice cream and thought about how she should cook the smiling big sister, second sister, and third sister alive to vent the depression in her heart. Just as she was about to reveal her devil's tale, Xiaomi heard a voice coming from the stage. Tomorrow will you remember the diary you wrote yesterday? Tomorrow will you still remember the you who loved to cry the most? She was momentarily stunned. The voice was clean and clear, with a hint of sadness. She had never heard the melody and lyrics before. But it was really nice. Xiaomi could not help but raise her head to look at the stage, only to see a young man wearing a blue t-shirt and jeans sitting on a stool, hugging a guitar and singing affectionately. What's the name of this song? What's the name of this handsome guy? Xiaomi stared at him without blinking, and suddenly all the depression in her heart disappeared. Only when the other party finished singing did she suddenly wake up, and was the first to clap her hands. Xiao Lu, sing it again. Accompanied by warm applause, someone shouted, You, my desk mate. At this moment, Xiaomi finally knew the name of the singer and the name of the song. Although she was not completely sure, the suggestion of others had undoubtedly gained her approval. She had not heard enough just now. Little girl, come back to me. A white palm suddenly appeared in front of her, swaying left and right, blocking her vision. Her roommate smiled slyly. Have you taken a fancy to this handsome guy? Your heart is stirred, right? Big sister. Xiaomi's face instantly turned red. What nonsense are you spouting? Seeing her embarrassed look, big sister, second sister, and third sister were overjoyed and laughed so hard that they almost knocked over their wine glasses. Fortunately, the atmosphere at the scene was very lively. Some people applauded and some whistled. Otherwise, they really didn't know how much attention they would attract, and she would also be humiliated. The handsome guy on the stage did not let down everyone's expectations, as he smiled and agreed to sing the song again. Xiaomi's heart moved, and while everyone's attention was diverted, she secretly took out her phone from her pocket, switched on the camera function, and started recording the stage. Halfway through the recording, She suddenly felt that the surrounding atmosphere was a little strange, and instinctively turned her head. She saw a waiter standing at the side, staring at the phone in her hand with an ugly expression. "Miss, the bar does not allow cameras. Please cooperate, thank you." Among the customers that frequented Backseat Bar, there were many elites in the workplace, and there were also quite a number of people in the industry and even celebrities. Most of them cared about their privacy, and while they were here to relax, they naturally did not like to be filmed by others. Therefore, bars like Nepenthe's Bar would have a "no filming" sign at a conspicuous location. Xiaomi stuck out her tongue and hurriedly kept her phone, saying, "Sorry." She was pretty and cute, and since she immediately apologized, the waiter naturally did not say anything more, and nodded his head before leaving. "Xiaomi girl." Big sister glared at her fiercely. "I brought you here to play, not to embarrass myself. Tonight I'll go back and serve you." Xiaomi lowered her head in shame, as though she was repenting for her mistake, but in reality, she was still holding onto her phone, and her fingers were rapidly tapping on the touch screen, skillfully typing out a long line of words. "Tonight at Backseat Bar, I found a handsome guy, and a very nice song." This was the title of a new post, and Xiaomi had attached the video she had just taken, and then sent it to the Beihai University Forum that she frequented. Beihai University Forum, which was also known as Beihai University Forum, was very famous among the student groups in Beijing. The daily IP and PV numbers were very high, and there were a large number of students from Beijing's universities. Any slight movement in a university would be reflected in the corresponding forum in the first instance. Xiaomi had used her own account to post the post purely out of fun. Normally, such a post would only exist for a short period of time in Beihai University Forum and would quickly be swept away by a large number of new posts and then disappear from everyone's sight. Perhaps it would be occasionally rediscovered by someone, but it was basically silent. But Xiaomi did not care. She only wanted to express her love for the song, as for the singer, just a little bit. At this moment, Lu Chen did not know that he had gained another fan. He seriously finished singing "You Who Sat Next to Me" for the second time, and once again received beer after beer as a reward. Among the guests that night, there were quite a number of student couples. Compared to those white-collar elites, their economic conditions were limited, so they would not reward singers. At most they would order one or two as a token of appreciation. But tonight was different. After singing "You Who Sat Next to Me" twice, Lu Chen actually received 100+ rewards. According to the 70% ratio of the resident singers, that was about 1,500 yuan. Unfortunately, this kind of good thing did not happen every day, and it was only during the weekend that there were more customers, and they were more generous with their money. Otherwise, with such a generous reward, Lu Chen would be able to live comfortably and would not need to worry about his family's huge debt day and night. Among the 100+ rewards, there were quite a number of student couples, and most of them were girls who let the boys pay. There were also some guys who were unwilling, but without exception, they were scolded and complained by their girlfriends. Delicate type, "Do you love me?" Cold and arrogant type, "Forget it, I'll buy it myself." Black-bellied type, "Hee hee, you're not jealous, are you? Don't think too much, I just like this song." Unruly type, "One is not enough. Give me two more." Any guy with a little bit of EQ, if he did not want to be a single dog again, then he could only obediently fork out the money, even if he had to eat pickled vegetables and cornbread tomorrow. This allowed Lu Chen to receive rewards, but also received a lot of resentment from his classmates. So what if you're handsome? And their resentment was so strong that even Lu Chen, who was sitting on the stage, could feel it. After thinking about it, he said to the microphone, "Thank you everyone for your support. The song I'm going to sing next is still my own original work, and it's the first time I'm singing it in Forget Worries Bar, so everyone here will be the first listeners of this song." But there was a small commotion in the bar. Many customers unconsciously straightened their backs, and their expressions became much more serious. There were even quite a number of people who revealed a look of excitement and agitation. The so-called first listener was originally an NPC character in a certain online game. Any player who used the microphone to sing loudly to it would receive different rewards. Later on, It was widely used to refer to the first person or the first batch of people who appreciated the original music or song. Hatsune listener. In the big room backstage, Yi Xinyang curled his lips in disdain. His gaze drifted towards the tightly shut door of the small room inside, and said softly, "Even Brother Qin doesn't dare to say that." If first listener was treated as a title, then this title could not be casually given to others, because at the same time, it was also an honor given to oneself. There were many singers who created music as an amateur. Without sufficient confidence and certainty, no one would dare to say that the person who listened to their own original work for the first time was a first listener. This was because this title was only suitable for truly outstanding works, or else they would become a laughingstock. How could Lu Qin dare to boast so shamelessly? One must know that even the real big brother among the singers of Forget Worries Bar, the soul of the Bionics, Qin Hanyang, had sung his own original songs in the bar many times, but he had never mentioned this title. Li Hong and Wang Xiaoshui who were present revealed a look of agreement, but Sister Na faintly smiled and said, "Xiao Lu is very talented. The song You Who Sat Next to Me just now has the potential to become popular. I believe that the new song should not disappoint." Yi Xinyang's face was a little embarrassed, but he did not dare to refute. Although Sister Na and the Bionics both had their own individual resting room, she usually preferred to stay in the big room outside and chat with other singers, listening to their singing and the sounds coming from the bar. If Lu Qin did not use You Who Sat Next to Me to prove his ability, then Sister Na might not have thought much of it. But now, she had great expectations for the new song that Lu Qin was going to sing. Even she herself didn't notice that there was actually another meaning in this expectation. On the stage outside, Lu Qin played the prelude of the new song. The bar, once again, became quiet. Chapter 13. How could I fall in love with you? I'm asking myself. I can give up anything, it's hard to leave today. You're not beautiful, but you're so cute. Oh, Cinderella, my Cinderella. The strings are plucked, the simple melody, Lu Qin singing is slightly low, with a trace of nostalgia and sadness. In Lu Qin's dream world, this song was written by a very talented rock singer to give to his first girlfriend. It also contains a very moving story. Although the final ending of the story is not perfect, the charm of this song is beyond doubt. It has touched countless people and has been used by many people to sing and perform. It has become a real classic that has lasted for a long time. In terms of the emotion of the song, this song has a lot in common with You Who Sat Next to Me. They both have the meaning of fate, but it is more sincere, expressing the singer's willfulness, self-reproach, and pursuit of love. When this song was sung by Lu Qin for the first time in this world, it still touched everyone's heartstrings. Especially the couples present, they were deeply moved. The boy held the girl's hand tightly, even if the latter stared at Lu Qin on the stage. "Because you're my Cinderella. I'm always hurting your heart, I'm always cruel, I told you not to take it seriously, because I can't believe it. You're so beautiful, and you're so cute, oh, Cinderella, my Cinderella." It seemed that the whole world was quiet, and everyone was listening to Lu Qin singing. Many girls' eyes were quietly covered with a layer of hazy tears. They were speechless, and even their breathing became stagnant. "If this is a dream, I'd rather be drunk than wake up. I've endured, I've waited so long, maybe I'm waiting for you, maybe I'm waiting for you, maybe I'm waiting for you." Until the end of the performance, no one spoke. "A Cinderella," Lu Qin said softly, "it's the first time I've sung it. I hope everyone likes it." Then there was applause. At first, it was one or two claps, like a storm on a summer night. But soon, it became uniform. Many guests stood up and applauded Lu Qin. There was no noise, only warm applause. Especially those girls, their palms were red from clapping. This song, Cinderella, does not have an impassioned melody, nor does it have ups and downs in the climax. It will not make the listener's blood boil, but it can quietly break into the listener's heart, making them involuntarily be moved by the implicit and blazing emotions in the song. Most importantly, they were first listeners. If one day, Cinderella becomes a well-known classic, Then she can proudly boast to others that she was the first person to appreciate this song, and she witnessed its debut. Can Cinderella become a classic? There were many different answers, but no matter who it was, they had to admit that this was a really good song. There was emotion, love, and even more so, soul. The applause lasted for a few minutes. Such a scene had never happened in Forget Grass Bar before. It was a treatment that the Bionics and Sister Na had never received before. Someone said loudly, "Let's sing it again." His request was unanimously approved by everyone, and they strongly requested for Lu Chen to sing it again. However, Lu Chen smiled and shook his head. He spoke into the microphone, "Thank you everyone for your support, but I will only sing this song once tonight, because I saw some girls crying over here." He used his elbow to press the guitar on his lap, clasped his hands together, and apologized to the right side of the stage. The position Lu Chen was facing was table 035, which was the table of Xiaomi and her 3 best friends. Among the 4 girls, 2 of them already had red eyes. Seeing everyone's attention shifted to them following Lu Chen's actions, the girls were embarrassed and blushed. The 2 of them quickly used the back of their hands to wipe the tears from the corner of their eyes. University girls were romantic and passionate, and could easily be moved by sad singing. Lu Chen continued, "My mother once told me that a girl's tears are the most precious. She said that no matter what, I cannot let a girl cry, or else it would be a crime." Soft laughter sounded in the bar. After a pause, Lu Chen sighed, "I think I have already committed a heinous crime, so I can't sing anymore." The chuckle turned into laughter, and the sorrowful atmosphere in the bar suddenly disappeared. Xiaomi's big sister, second sister, and third sister could not help but laugh. Their eyes were filled with tears, but they were laughing happily. Xiaomi wanted to laugh, but she did not, and in her heart she scolded, "Annoying." Lu Chen did not know that he was annoyed by a girl. The reason why he did not sing Cinderella again was not because he was tsundere or to keep people in suspense, but because the atmosphere created by singing "You Who Sat Next to Me" and Cinderella was enough. As the saying goes, going too far is as bad as falling short. Knowing when to stop is the way of the king. He took the opportunity to get off the stage and gave his position to the host. At around 9 o'clock, he would go on stage to sing another 2 songs. Resident singers have a fixed singing time and also a guaranteed salary. The real big income is still the reward share. Tonight, Lu Chen can earn a lot more than yesterday. But Lu Chen was very clear that this rhythm of earning money was only temporary and could not last long. He was relying on the 2 original songs that he sang. Although he could still come up with better songs, it was not worth it to put them in the bar. "You Who Sat Next to Me" and "Cinderella" were enough to be his reserved songs. Forget Grass Bar's stage was too small and could not accommodate Lu Chen's soaring heart. Of course, at least for now, he had no plans to leave. Back at the backstage, Sister Na gave Lu Chen a big hug. She smiled and said, "Xiao Lu, you really surprised me. You sang really well." Sister Na had been in this industry for decades. Although she had never made a name for herself, she knew how to appreciate music better than ordinary customers, and was able to judge the potential of an original song. Whether it was "You Who Sat Next to Me" or "Cinderella," they both made her look at Lu Chen in a different light. Compared to Sister Na's sincerity, Li Hong, Yi Zhenyang and the others' smiles were much more forced, especially Yi Zhenyang, who looked at Lu Chen with unconcealable jealousy. 2 genuine original songs, both had the potential to become popular. How could Lu Chen's luck be so good? Yi Zhenyang entered the industry much earlier than Lu Chen. As a member of the Beijing Drifters, he also had his own dreams and ambitions, and once wanted to write a few good songs. In the pop music circle, some singers used a moment of inspiration to write a famous song, and then relied on that song to win over the whole world, living comfortably. However, no matter how much Yi Zhenyang racked his brain to put together the songs he wrote, although not considered to be unbearably bad, they were also mediocre. It was not worth spending 500 yuan to register in the Greater China Music Library. In the end, he could only be discouraged and give up. Now that he saw Lu Chen consecutively compose 2 good songs, jealousy was like a poisonous snake, constantly biting his heart. Don't mention congratulating Lu Chen, he almost couldn't maintain his fake smile. I'll go out and take a look. Yi Zhenyang casually found a reason to leave. He was afraid that if he stayed any longer, he would be burned to ashes by jealousy. Just as he opened the door, Yi Zhenyang saw Chen Jianhao appearing in front of him. He couldn't help but be taken aback and quickly greeted, "Boss?" Chen Jianhao nodded, then waved his hand towards Lu Chen in the room and said, "Xiao Lu, come with me, someone wants to buy songs from you." Buy songs? There was actually someone looking for Lu Chen to buy songs. Yi Zhenyang was dumbfounded, he didn't even know how he walked out. And Lu Chen was also stunned. Sister Na smiled and patted his shoulder, saying, "Go quickly." She was obviously a little worried, and added another sentence, "Remember not to sell it cheap." Lu Chen came to his senses, smiled and said, "Thank you, Sister Na, I'll go first." When he and Chen Jianhao left, there were only Sister Na, Li Hong and Wang Xiaoshui left in the big room. The latter two looked at each other, as if they couldn't believe what just happened. Li Hong hesitated for a moment, and said to Sister Na, "Sister Na, aren't you too?" She was very careful, thinking about what words to use. Li Hong was also a woman over 30 years old. Her appearance wasn't outstanding, so in Forget Grass Bar, her relationship with Sister Na was very good. The two of them had a lot of common topics. Therefore, there were some things that others didn't dare to say, but she dared to ask. Sister Na smiled and said, "You want to say that I overestimated Xiao Lu?" Li Hong smiled awkwardly, but tacitly agreed. Sister Na said softly, "Xiao Lu's time in the industry is very short, his original level wasn't high, but he has talent and potential, and now he has already revealed his talent, so I think Forget Grass Bar can't keep him. What I can be sure of is that Xiao Lu won't leave immediately. I understand Xiao Ye's thoughts, but I am very clear that Xiao Lu is a person who values relationships and respects his seniors, isn't that right?" Li Hong silently nodded her head. She knew that Sister Na's words were said to her, Yi Zhenyang and Wang Xiaoshui. The meaning was very obvious. Regardless of whether they were convinced or not, Lu Chen, who was able to produce 2 outstanding original works, was no longer on the same level as them. His future was limitless. For such a person, to be able to work together was fate, and also an opportunity. If they were like Yi Zhenyang, who only had a heart of jealousy, they would have missed this opportunity and would not be able to touch any light. But would Lu Chen really have a day where he would soar to the top? Li Hong still couldn't believe it, or more accurately, she didn't want to believe it. The slight change in expression on Li Hong's face didn't escape Sister Na's attention, but Sister Na didn't say anything more. Opportunities need to be grasped by oneself, and some things also need to be understood by oneself. As for whether others could understand, she wouldn't worry. Note: Cinderella lyrics/composer, Zheng Jun. Chapter 14. Following Chen Jianhao, Lu Chen came to the reserved seating area on the upper floor of the bar. Forget Grass Bar was rebuilt from an old warehouse. Because the floor height was close to 7 meters, it was transformed into 2 floors. The middle area was left empty for the stage. The layout was very ingenious, making full use of the entire space. Like most of the bars in Hohai, Forget Grass Bar had a reserved seating area. There were 3 wine tables. No matter how good the business was, they would always be empty waiting for VIPs who might not show up. Because opening a bar and doing business, networking was very important. Chen Jianhao originally had a wide range of friends. If a good friend or someone he couldn't offend suddenly came to his door, it would undoubtedly be very embarrassing when the bar was already full and there wasn't even a place to sit. Therefore, there was the existence of the reserved seating area. The people who came to buy songs from Lu Chen were able to sit in the reserved seating area, so they definitely weren't ordinary people. Perhaps seeing that he was a little nervous, Chen Jianhao whispered, "Don't worry, it's up to you whether you want to sell it or not. With me here, no one will deliberately make things difficult for you." Lu Chen let out a sigh of relief and said, "Thank you, boss." Chen Jianhao was really a very good boss, although he was usually a little strict with people. Two of the three wine tables in the reserved seating area were empty. The table near the iron fence was occupied by a man and a woman. The man was about 30 years old, wearing a suit and a pair of gold-rimmed glasses. His hair was neatly combed. At first glance, one could tell that he was the kind of elite in the workplace. The woman was much younger. She was petite and had an 8 out of 10 appearance. She was dressed rather casually. She held a glass of wine in her hand and looked around curiously, as if everything in the bar was new to her. Manager Song, "I've brought him over." Chen Jinhao walked over with Lu Chen and said with a smile, "This is Lu Chen, Xiao Lu." The man in the suit waited until Chen Jinhao walked in front of him before he stood up. A faint smile appeared on his face as he nodded at Lu Chen in a reserved manner. The woman at the side hurriedly stood up, but she forgot to put down the wine glass, and as a result, some wine spilled out. Chen Jinhao introduced, "Xiao Lu, this is the Deputy General Manager of Light Rain Media, Mr. Song Xinwei, and this is the Assistant General Manager, Miss Dong Xian." Light Rain Media? Is it that the temperamental and thunderous Su Qingmei still hasn't given up? Lu Chen thought to himself. At the same time, he stretched out his hand to the man in the suit. "Hello, Manager Song." Song Xinwei shook hands with him. Lu Chen then extended his hand to Miss Dong Xian. "Hello, Miss Dong." Dong Xian hurriedly shook his hand as well. She stuttered a little and said, "Hello, Lu Chen." Lu Chen smiled. This assistant general manager was really too inexperienced. He was a complete newcomer to the workplace. Of course, he didn't need to care whether or not he was qualified for the position of assistant general manager. After the formalities, everyone sat down at the table. Song Xinwei went straight to the point and said, "Xiao Lu, the matter is like this. We came here tonight because of Director Su Qingmei's request. We want to buy the copyright of a song from you." As he said this, he nodded at Dong Xian. The latter immediately took out a few pieces of paper from her briefcase. Song Xinwei continued, "Our company's legal department has confirmed that the copyright of the song called You Who Sat Next to Me belongs to you. Therefore, we are willing to buy the copyright of the song at a high price. Please take a look at this contract." Lu Chen calmly took the contract. It was very easy for Light Rain Media to confirm the copyright of the song. They only needed to search through the Greater China Music Library. Whether it was the song title, lyrics, or music score, they could all be searched. This was the authority and convenience of the Greater China Music Library. Although the registration fee was very high, it could avoid any possible copyright disputes and save a lot of trouble. As long as Lu Chen was willing, he could also complete the copyright transaction through the Greater China Music Library. But this was not the main point. His eyes quickly scanned through the list of clauses on the contract and quickly locked onto the main point. That was the price of the copyright. It was clearly written in black and white, 20,000 yen. 00 behind it was written a whole 20,000 yuan. 20,000 yuan. When he first saw this price, Lu Chen was a little tempted. He used to work 2 jobs, working more than 15 hours a day. The money he earned, after deducting his daily living expenses, was only enough to send home 4,000 to 5,000 yuan a month. But now, as long as he signed his name on the contract, he could easily take away 20,000 yuan. Most importantly, there were still countless good songs in his memory, so it really didn't matter if he sold one. Across from Lu Chen, Song Xinwei keenly noticed the change in Lu Chen's expression through the thin resin lenses of his gold-rimmed glasses. His eyes flashed with a trace of disdain. If it wasn't for Su Qingmei's request, as the dignified Deputy General Manager of Light Rain Media, he wouldn't have personally brought people over to discuss a 20,000 yuan contract with a kid who still smelled of his mother's milk. Of course, 20,000 yuan to the kid in front of him was a huge amount of money. He was probably dizzy. Lucky kid. However, Lu Chen didn't faint. After understanding the price, he began to carefully look at the other clauses. The more he looked, the uglier his face became. It was normal to give away the copyright of You Who Sat Next to Me, other than the right of authorship. Lu Chen also approved of it. But why was he not allowed to continue singing this song in any public places? In other words, after he sold the song, he couldn't even sing it in Forget Grass Bar? Another clause was that Light Rain Media had priority over his works. Before the former confirmed to give up, he couldn't transfer his future works to a third party. What a dog! If Lu Qin didn't carefully look at the contract and hurriedly signed it, it was equivalent to being tied to the boat of Light Rain Media and losing the initiative of his own works. Behind the high-price temptation, there was indeed a trap. Lu Qin understood and firmly returned the contract. Sorry, I can't sign this contract. He had said the same thing to Su Qingmei yesterday. Song Xinwei was waiting for Lu Qin to sign. He didn't expect Lu Qin to refuse. He couldn't help but be stunned. What? Lu Qin repeated the words. This time, Song Xinwei finally understood. He felt humiliated. His face immediately changed. Can I know why? Is it because of the price? Then I think you should know that this price is impossible for others to give. In fact, Lu Qin understood this point. The current era was no longer the 80s or 90s. The rise of the internet and the prevalence of piracy led to a great decline in the recording industry. Today's singers and celebrities were competing for fans and eyeballs. They crazily created all kinds of hype and used all kinds of methods to gain popularity. It was no longer the era when a best-selling record could make a fortune. The status of pop music songwriters was naturally not as good as before. Moreover, with the development of technology, even ordinary people could use Singing Master and similar software to compose songs. Big drop in the threshold of songwriting. The market was flooded with inferior third-rate works. Amateur songwriters wrote a song that could still be sung. They didn't need to spend money to register it in Greater China Music Library. As long as they uploaded it to a music website to prove their copyright, they would be willing to sell it for 300 and 500 yuan. The price of a professional songwriter was much higher, but a song written by a newcomer or a third-rate songwriter would cost at most 2,000 or 3,000, and there would still be people who wanted it. Most of the time, no one would buy it even if it was at a discount. Light Rain Media offered 20,000 yuan to buy Lu Qin's You Who Sat Next to Me. This was already the treatment of a famous artist. One had to know that this was Lu Qin's first work. His work had yet to go through the test of the market. That was why Song Xinwei was so annoyed. How could the newcomers these days not know the immensity of heaven and earth? But Lu Qin didn't care about the price. The price isn't a problem, he said very seriously. I'm willing to sell the copyright for 20,000 yuan, but I can't agree to the other terms. You Who Sat Next to Me was worth more than 20,000 yuan. But Lu Qin considered the relationship between Chen Jianhao and Su Qingmei. Plus he didn't want to offend a media company, so it didn't matter if he suffered a loss. But the premise was that it was only limited to this song. Song Xinwei understood Lu Qin's meaning, but his attitude did not change in the slightest. He sneered and said, "Little, you have to think about it. Without these terms, would our company pay such a high price? Who do you think you are? Also, you still have the right to sign your name. This is a chance for you to become famous. You should know how to cherish it." He almost pointed at Lu Qin's nose and said, "You don't know what's good for you." Lu Qin raised his eyebrows and said in a deep voice, "Manager Song, I'm just a nobody. A big company like Light Rain Media really can't reach me. You should find someone else." If Su Qingmei were to hear his last two sentences, she would probably be seething with anger. Lu Qin was also a person with a temper. His pride was hidden deep in his bones. Although he had bowed down because of the pressure of life, his knees were always firm. After saying that, he stood up and nodded at Dong Xian. Then he said to Chen Jianhao, "Boss, I'll go down first. I still have to go on stage later." When Lu Qin and Song Xinwei were discussing, Chen Jianhao didn't say anything. Now, he smiled and said, "You go, I'll stay here and accompany Manager Song for a few more drinks." "Thank you, boss." Lu Qin didn't look at Song Xinwei and directly left the reserved seating area. Song Xinwei was so angry that he almost smashed his wine glass. He looked at Chen Jianhao and said coldly, "Boss Chen, your partner really has a backbone. I've finally seen it today." "Hi, youngsters," Chen Jianhao laughed and said, "They're all like this. Who hasn't been young before? Come, let's drink." How could Song Xinwei continue to drink? He felt an unprecedented sense of defeat. Chapter 15. Returning to the stage, Lu Chen sang 2 more songs. He did not sing You Who Sat Next to Me and Cinderella, but chose 2 love songs that he was good at, which won a lot of applause and tips. After he left the stage, he chatted with a few familiar customers. Xiao Lu, the 2 songs you sang before were so good. A regular customer praised, You wrote it too, you have talent. If I opened a record company, I would definitely sign you. Another customer laughed, Nowadays, good original songs are really rare. Listen to those idols, boy bands and girl bands, they all cover songs from Europe, America, Japan, and Korea. It's like they were made from the same mold. Yes, the really good songs are from the 80s and 90s. Hee, if you say it's good to be nostalgic, others will say you're outdated. You can't say that, everyone has different tastes. Lu Chen spent most of his time listening, occasionally opening his mouth to say a few words. The atmosphere in Forget Grass Bar was always good, the relationship between the customers and the singers was very harmonious, everyone sat together and chatted like friends, there was no pressure. Seeing that it was already past 10 o'clock, he got up to leave, the customers did not ask him to stay. The bars in Hohai were open at night, the prime time was from 11 o'clock to 2 o'clock in the morning, but this time period belonged to the contracted singers. Lu Chen no longer needed to be a waiter, so there was no need for him to stay. At the bar's finance office, he received his performance fee. The salary and tips of the resident singers were all paid on the spot. Lu Chen sang a total of 5 songs that night. Each song was 30 yuan, which was 150 yuan. The biggest part of the tips, 70% of it, was 2,150 yuan. 2,300 yuan was all that Lu Chen earned tonight. If he could have this kind of income every day, it would not be a dream to earn 100,000 yuan a month, but this was simply impossible. This was because the customers of the Forget Grass Bar were not rich second-generation tycoons. They were very rational when they tipped. The reason why Lu Chen was able to earn more than 2,000 yuan in tips tonight and last night was entirely due to the changes in his playing and singing skills, as well as the novelty and touching effect of the 2 original songs. However, Impulse could not last long, so under normal circumstances, he could only earn 10,000 plus per month at most. If he wanted to earn more, he needed to go out and sing in other bars. Purely in terms of income, as long as a bar singer had a stable venue, it was still very good. At least in a place like Beijing where every inch of land was worth its weight in gold, it was not a problem to maintain a living. However, the problem was that very few people could stay in this line of work for long. Most people came with the dream of becoming famous. When their dreams were shattered, they could only go back in dejection or completely sink into oblivion. Lu Chen also had a dream. His dream was very big. He left the bar, deposited the money at the ATM on the pedestrian street, and then ran to the nearby subway station. When he returned to the rented basement, it was exactly 11 o'clock. This speed was considered very fast. It was also because there were not many people on the subway at night. If it was during the day, the subway would be crowded to death. It would not be so smooth at all. Li Feiyu was not at home. The last night of the weekend was his fixed happy time. Therefore, the first live broadcast at night depended entirely on Lu Chen. The microphone and camera had already been changed. He turned on the computer and logged into the internet. On the main page of Starlight Show, he entered his account and password. Soon, he entered Lu Fei's live broadcast. Although Lu Chen's computer was very old, it had no problem running the live broadcast platform. The screen immediately showed his clear image. Hey. Lu Chen said, hey, into the microphone twice to test whether the device was running smoothly. What surprised him was that 5 to 6 subtitles immediately popped up on the screen. Yangtze River, I am the Yellow River. I hear you. Boss, you are finally online. We have been waiting for you for a long time. Throwing flowers to celebrate. Wife, come and see the handsome guy. At this time, Lu Chen noticed that the number of online users on the host interface was actually 427, which meant that more than 400 people were waiting for him to start broadcasting. That was why the bullet screen appeared so quickly. Although he had previously posted an announcement that his first broadcast time was set at 11 o'clock in the evening, he did not expect that so many viewers would come to support him. He was excited and a little touched. "I'm really sorry," Luchin quickly said. "I just came back from work. I didn't calculate the time well and kept everyone waiting. Sorry. As soon as his voice fell, the bullet screen suddenly increased. "Does the host have to work on the weekend? Which company is so inhumane? Yes, let's all call the supervision department to complain. And you have to work until 11 o'clock. It's too much. My heart aches for the handsome guy." Luchin did not know whether to laugh or cry. He quickly explained, "I sing in a bar in Hohai. I am a bar singer. My working hours are at night, so I am late. But I go there often." "Which bar? I don't think I have seen the host before." "So you are a bar singer? No wonder your singing is so good." "Don't talk nonsense. Let the host sing. My ears are already hungry and thirsty." "So hungry? Then go find a cotton swab and stab it. You will feel good." Luchin looked at the lively barrage and felt very happy. The uneasiness brought about by his first independent anchor quickly disappeared without a trace, and his mood unconsciously relaxed. The atmosphere of the online broadcast was completely different from the bar, but it felt really good after adapting. The number of online users was increasing rapidly, from the initial 427 to 725. The greeting bullet screen kept flooding. This performance in a bar was unimaginable. This was the charm of the internet. I feel that the host seems to have changed a room. It is not the original Brother Faye's room. It's just changing the name of the room. What a fuss. Sorry, I am talking about the host's current home. Don't you see it? Yes, where does the host live? The conditions are so bad. It should be the basement. I have rented a similar one in the past. My heart aches for the host. The topic of the audience's discussion suddenly changed to the room that Luchin lived in. It was an old district and it was a basement remodeled space. The small room naturally did not have any good conditions. Although Li Feiyu and Luchin were neighbors, he had used his own money to renovate the room. It looked much better and was not as simple as Luchin's. System notification. Happy 888, Silver Eye, gifted host 100 Starlight. System notification. Wearing underwear outside Superman, Iron 2, gifted host 100 Starlight. System notification. Abyss Dragon Rider, Bronze V, gifted host 100 Starlight. System notification. Crystal Jelly, Bronze 2, gifted host 100 Starlight. System notification. Prophet Emperor, Li Bai, Gold 3, gifted host 1 Interstellar Battleship. Interstellar Battleship again. It was Prophet Emperor, Li Bai again. Luchin had not even started singing and the audience's rewards came pouring in. Furthermore, Prophet Emperor, Li Bai gifted him a huge reward of 1 Interstellar Battleship. 1 Interstellar Battleship not only meant $1,000 but also a chance to show his face on the live broadcast platform. Luchin could not help but feel a trace of warmth in his heart. It was obvious that the audience saw that the conditions of his rented environment was very bad and used rewards to express their support and sympathy. At this moment, the number of online followers broke through 1,000 in the blink of an eye. The increase was abnormally rapid. Luchin subconsciously looked at the number of followers. 5279. What was going on? Luchin did not dare to believe his eyes. At noon, the number of followers of this host account was only 2,722. How did it double at night? Luchin had just started playing Starry Live. Although he had learned a lot of general knowledge from Li Fei, he was still a newbie after all. He wasn't clear about many of the situations and thus couldn't figure out where the problem lay. If he could not think of it, then he would not think about it. In any case, it was not a bad thing, but a good thing. Thank you, Prophet Emperor Li Bai, for the interstellar battleship, he said to the microphone. I am also very grateful for everyone's support. I will first sing the song that I composed. It's called You Who Sat Next to Me. I believe many of my friends have already heard it. I hope new friends will like it. After a slight pause, Luchin continued, "Tonight, I will dedicate another original song to everyone." Without looking at the bullet screen, he held his guitar and began to sing, "You Who Sat Next to Me." Beautiful. Touching. I want to cry. The charm of this classic was unstoppable. Regardless of whether it was in Forget Worries Bar or Starry Live, regardless of whether it was those who had heard it or those who had just entered the live broadcast room, they were all deeply moved by it. Most importantly, after many performances, Luchin had a better grasp of the emotions contained in this song. Coupled with his unique voice, it was enough to captivate the live broadcast audience who did not have high expectations. After singing You Who Sat Next to Me, there was a tide of good comments and starry rewards, filling the entire screen. Luchin continued to sing 5 songs in a row, all of which were popular classics that he was good at. Although it was not as sensational as You Who Sat Next to Me, it still raised the atmosphere in the live broadcast room to a high level. During the interval between singing, Luchin also interacted with more and more audience members and answered many questions. Li Feiyu told him that it was very important to have an interactive online live broadcast. It was difficult to arouse the audience's emotions just by singing. Chatting with everyone or telling jokes could, on the one hand, shorten the distance between each other, and on the other hand, allow one's voice to get a proper rest. The pursuit of online live broadcast was fan economy. Only with popularity could one make money. The number of fans that the anchor had determined his position on the live broadcast platform. It was really the winner takes all. Luchin still lacked experience in this area, but as long as he was willing to put down his pride, it was not difficult to deal with these enthusiastic audience members. Although there were a few people who seemed to be deliberately making trouble, most of them were very good. Time passed quietly in such interactive exchanges and singing performances. It was already 1 o'clock in the morning. Chapter 16. It was already midnight, but the popularity of Lu Fei's live broadcast did not decrease much. Although the number of online viewers was far from comparable to the famous anchors in Starlight Show, it was already a great achievement for a new anchor like Luchin. Without signing a contract, without recommendation, and without hyping up his fans, he relied on his own strength. The number of Starlight fans followed, 7120, reaching a new high. He was not far from signing a contract of 10,000. Taking advantage of the good atmosphere in the live broadcast room, Luchin released his second original song, Cinderella. The simple and moving melody, the sincere performance, once again conquered the online audience without any suspense. However, in terms of popularity, Cinderella lost to You Who Sat Next to Me. This song is so good I like it. It's not good, it's simply abuse. Abuse single dogs, woof woof woof. Anchor abuse single dogs, a monthly income of 1 million. A programmer passing by as a part-time single dog, why can't I find my own Cinderella? I really want to beat up the anchor. The singing made me cry. How can I go to work tomorrow? I'm so sad, I'm leaving. Looking at the barrage of comments flashing across the screen, Luchin really didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Thinking about it, it was understandable. At this point in time, those who were watching live broadcasts and listening to songs were basically single. Cinderella was obviously a far greater blow to single dogs than You Who Sat Next to Me. Luchin thought about it and said into the microphone, "Actually, I'm the same as everyone else, single. Let me tell you a little joke. This afternoon I went to a small restaurant to eat. I just ate 2 mouthfuls of food, and my chopsticks picked up a worm. So I angrily called the boss and asked why there was a worm in the food. The barrage on the screen immediately became sparse. Everyone was very curious to hear Luchin's joke. Luchin continued, "The boss looked at it, nodded and said that 1 worm is right because you are a single dog. The couple at the next table ate 2 worms. As soon as his voice fell, the barrage that had just been reduced flew up again and filled the entire screen in the blink of an eye. I'm dying of laughter. Single dogs passing by again. You guys chat, I'm just watching. I wanted to laugh, but after listening to the anchor's joke, I want to cry. Although the host is very handsome, his jokes are really good. Where is this restaurant? Tomorrow I want to eat worms. Wait for me, let's go eat worms together. Then you'll eat 2 worms, F***ck off. The atmosphere in the live broadcast room returned to its original lively and joyful state, and even exceeded it. Lu Chen took the opportunity to say, "It's late at night. Even if you're a single dog, it's time to go to bed. Everyone still has to go to work or school." So, let's end today's live broadcast here. Although there were still many people clamoring for Lu Chen to sing or telling a few more jokes, most of the audience expressed their understanding. Lu Chen's jokes he would be. The last wave of stars appeared, and the entire screen was sparkling. Lu Chen looked at his star points and found that it had actually reached 2.8 According to the 50% share, that would be 1,400 yuan in his account. One had to know that his live broadcast at night was not at prime time, and the broadcast time was not long either. If this trend continued, it would not be a dream for him to help his family pay off all their debts. This was undoubtedly the right path to take. Anchor, please message me in private, I have something important to say. Just as Lu Chen was about to go offline, he suddenly saw a barrage from the Prophet Emperor Li Bai. Online audiences could privately chat with the anchor through the live broadcast room, but to prevent harassment from affecting the effect of the live broadcast, it was usually turned off by default, and Lu Chen was no exception. Prophet Emperor Li Bai was undoubtedly a nouveau riche. His star points had always been at the top of the Lu Fei live broadcast room, and he had tipped Lu Chen 2 interstellar battleships, which brought a lot of popularity to Lu Chen. Therefore, Lu Chen did not hesitate and clicked on his ID to send a private message. Lu Chen, hello. Prophet Emperor Li Bai, hello, General Lu. Lu Chen, General Lu? Prophet Emperor Li Bai, hee, this is our Lu Jiejun's highest military rank. Lu Chen, huh? Prophet Emperor Li Bai, you'll know when you come to Star Circle? He attached a link to the community forum of the Starlight Show. The community forum of the Starlight Show was called the Star Ocean Community, but everyone called it Star Circle because there were different circles in it, and different circles represented different anchors. In the Star Circle community, any contracted anchors could establish their own circle, which was equivalent to an independent section. Once fans and audiences joined this circle, they could freely chat in it. Star Circle was very important to anchors. It could gather popularity and cultivate hardcore fans, and the number of visitors was very high. Posting a live broadcast video or photos in the circle was also an excellent place to advertise. Apart from the anchors, the gold members of Starry Live also have the qualifications to establish a fan circle in the Star Circle. They can wave flags and shout for their favorite anchors to recruit people. Thus, the number of fan circles largely reflects the popularity of the anchors. Of course, Lu Chen knew about the existence of Star Circle, but he had not officially signed a contract, so he could only stroll around as a tourist. He had originally wanted to wait until his number of fans exceeded 10,000 before creating a circle to play with. He did not expect Prophet Emperor Li Bai to give him a surprise. Lu Jiejun. This was the name of the fan circle. It was so domineering that it could blind a dog's eyes. Prophet Emperor Li Bai was the founder of Lu Jiejun's Star Circle. He gave himself the title of Chief of Staff and set Lu Chen's account title as Commander, which gave him full authority in the circle. This was the origin of the title General Lu. After understanding the situation, Lu Chen was touched and amused. However, in the Star Circle, there were countless names and titles that were even more blinding, so he quickly understood. What really surprised Lu Chen was that Lu Jiejun's Star Circle had been established for less than 24 hours, but it already had 2,860 members. Moreover, the number of posts and replies was very high, and the activity level was very high. 2 of the top posts were videos of Lu Chen's live broadcast. Host's original, You Who Sat Next to Me, a good song that can't be missed. The bold red title of the main post was very eye-catching. The post presented the entire process of Lu Chen singing You Who Sat Next to Me, and included the comments of Prophet Emperor Li Bai. The best ballad of the year, the work of a genius, the brightest star in the Starlight Show, Prophet Emperor Li Bai did not spare any effort in flattering him, which made Lu Chen blush. In this main post, there were more than 2,000 replies. Be it Star Circle members or tourists, they all had a positive attitude towards the song. They felt that it was well written and sung, and they all expressed their support. As the post included a direct link to Lu Fei's live broadcast room, Lu Chen finally understood why his number of fans had increased so much even without a live broadcast. He said to Prophet Emperor Li Bai, "Thank you so much." Prophet Emperor Li Bai replied, "You're welcome. I like your songs and I like your original works. I think you can become a big star in the future, so I'll be your #1 fan." Lu Chen laughed. "Hee hee, thank you for your auspicious words. I'll work hard." Prophet Emperor Li Bai, "It's not convenient to chat privately. Come to the QQ group number 494193990. Lu Chen opened QQ and added the group number. His request was instantly approved. The name of the QQ group was also Lu Jiajun, and the group owner was, of course, Li Bai. "Everyone, let's welcome our General Lu." Li Bai added the title of management to Lu Chen at the first time, and released countless fireworks in the group chat interface. Then the entire QQ group was in an uproar. "Wow, the host is here." Asking for the host's real-life information. Age, weight, height, 3 measurements. Nude photos. "The host is a handsome pot, all the handsome pots are mine. Mom told me to turn off my computer. Luckily I didn't. The group owner is mighty." Compared to the live broadcast room, Lu Chen was undoubtedly much more familiar with the QQ group. He skillfully replied a few sentences and quickly became one with the group members. The atmosphere was very cheerful. The QQ group created by Prophet Emperor Li Bai could accommodate 5,000 members. It was the highest paid group, but currently there were only 400+ members, which was much inferior to Star Circle. He said in the group, "Currently, our General Lu has around 7,200 star fans. To sign a contract requires 10,000 followers. We're already very close to the target, so I hope everyone can pull some more friends over. We don't buy fans, we only want real fans." 10,000 star fans was a hard requirement to sign a contract with the Starlight Show. Because after signing a contract, the host's share would increase, and they would also get the chance to be recommended by the platform. Many hosts who couldn't meet the requirements would buy fans. Some hosts could easily have tens or even hundreds of thousands of star fans. After removing the fake fans, there would only be 1/10 of them. In comparison, the value of Lu Chen's followers was extremely high. The most important thing was that apart from a small portion of Li Feiyu's followers, most of them were attracted by his 2 live broadcasts. No recommendation, no hype. Such a result was rare even in the Starlight Show where hosts were as numerous as the clouds. No one doubted whether he could sign a contract with the Starlight Show. Prophet Emperor Li Bai undoubtedly hoped to speed up the process and let more people know about Lu Chen. 2 days ago, this nouveau riche didn't even know Lu Chen. But now, he was actively giving him advice and considered himself to be his #1 fan. Prophet Emperor Li Bai's proposal immediately received everyone's response. Many group members expressed that they would promote Lu Chen through QQ and Feixin. Their enthusiasm also made Lu Chen feel very touched tonight. Chapter 17. While Lu Chen was still in the basement, chatting enthusiastically with his fans through the QQ group, Wang Yu was patrolling his territory in the Beijing Institute of Technology's graduate building dormitory 307, 10 kilometers away. It was already midnight, and the dormitory's lights had already been turned off. The room was dark, and only the light from the laptop screen barely illuminated a small area in front of the desk. Wang Yu's thin face looked very pale under the fluorescent light, and his messy hair indicated that this boy usually didn't like to take care of himself. However, his eyes behind the glasses were bright and spirited, not showing the slightest hint of tiredness. His right hand was holding the mouse, and he quickly operated on the computer, his movements incomparably skilled. As the moderator of Beihai City's forum, Wang Yu loved his part-time job very much. Even in the middle of the night, He still seriously managed his own forum, using the moderator's authority to ruthlessly kill all the illegal posts, and at the same time dealing with the disputes between members. He was extremely conscientious and diligent. Beihai City's forum, also known as Beihai University's forum, had a history of 20 years. It was a nationally famous university student BBS community, gathering a large number of capital university students, and its popularity index had always been high. Beihai City's forum had a large number of sections. In addition to the dozens of university subforums, there were also International Perspective, Hot Current Events, Life Station, Free World, and so on. Wang Yu was one of the 3 moderators of the Free World section. Free World was a popular section of Beihai City's forum. Many forum members liked to chat in there, sharing their own stories, studies, life, travel, love, and so on. They also posted photos or videos. The forum was mixed with good and bad people, and the more popular the section, the easier it was to get into trouble. Advertisements, intermediaries, and other illegal posts emerged one after another, so the moderator had to be discerning and deal with them to maintain the harmony of the forum. Wang Yu skillfully killed 2 advertisement posts, and at the same time banned the poster's account. He glanced at the lower left corner of the screen, and the time on the computer showed 1:50. It was almost 2 o'clock. He couldn't help but yawn, and finally felt a trace of sleepiness, so he prepared to turn off his computer and sleep. The body was the capital of revolution, and staying up too late was harmful to the body. At this moment, Wang Yu's right index finger unconsciously moved, and the mouse moved half a circle. The page displayed on the screen scrolled down, and a post appeared in front of him. "Tonight at Hohai Bar, I found a handsome guy and a very nice song." The title of the post was very long, and it was posted at 2015. The poster was Mini Baby. Judging from the title and ID, it should be a girl. However, it was useless. The post only had 100+ views and 15 replies. There were too many posts like this that did not attract much attention in the North Sea City forum. Take the Free World section for example. During peak hours, there could be dozens or even hundreds of new posts appearing in a minute. If there was no sensational title or a continuous stream of replies, these posts would often only exist on the front page of the section for a few seconds. Completely out of curiosity, Wang Yu opened the post. The content of the post was very simple. It was just a video that was 3 minutes and 25 seconds long. Handsome guy? A good song? Wang Yu curled his lips in disdain and clicked on the video. He decided to watch the video before going to sleep. If it was that kind of hype, then naturally he would kill it without mercy. The video opened, and the sound of a guitar and singing immediately came out through the laptop speaker. Wang Yu was shocked and quickly paused the video. He guiltily looked at his roommates who had already gone to sleep, and then plugged in the headphones that he did not like very much. Continue. The video was shot with a mobile phone, and the location of the shot was clearly written in the post title. The photographer was undoubtedly secretly filming. The camera was shaking furtively, and the quality of the recording was not very good. Wang Yu was experienced and knowledgeable. He knew that a lot of the so-called secretly filming was actually prepared to hype up the preliminaries. However, this video should not be a setup, and the environment was very real. The content of the video was a young man singing on the stage of a bar. He wore a blue t-shirt and jeans, and the appearance of him holding a guitar was indeed a little handsome, but it was far from shocking. What really moved Wang Yu was his singing. "You were always very careful in the past, asking me to borrow half an eraser. You also unintentionally said that you liked to be with me, clear, clean, with a trace of nostalgia. It made people a little sad and a little regretful." Inadvertently, his feelings were touched, and in an instant, countless past events emerged in his mind. After just listening to a small part, Wang Yu listened to it in a daze. He thought of his deskmate in junior high. It was a delicate and pretty girl with a shy personality. She was bullied by him but never cared. In his memory, the girl seemed to have already said that she liked to be with him. However, at that time, Wang Yu did not understand a girl's heart at all. The current Wang Yu was still a single dog. The short video of 3 minutes and 25 seconds quickly ended, and Wang Yu replayed it without thinking. However, he listened to it again and again. After listening to it for a full 5 times, Wang Yu was still not satisfied because he did not hear the complete song. Therefore, he opened the search engine and used one of the lyrics to search for keywords. What Wang Yu did not expect was that he did not find the same or similar song on the internet. Could it be an original song? Wang Yu really did not dare to believe it, but the truth was in front of him, and the poster did not leave any more clues, such as the name of the song. There were not many replies, and most of them were useless content such as good song, which bar, really handsome, and so on. There was no answer that he wanted to know. After thinking for a while, he replied in the post, "This song is not bad, I recommend it to everyone. By the way, what is the name of the song? Please tell me, OP, thank you." Using his authority as a moderator, Wang Yu added an essence reward to the post. He hesitated for a moment, then added a moderator recommendation medal. If a post in the forum was added with a moderator recommendation medal, then it would automatically be pinned to the top for 24 hours for all who viewed the post to see. This kind of high-level medal was not unlimited. Wang Yu's authority was 10, which meant that he could only add a moderator recommendation medal to a post a month 10 times. Most importantly, once a recommendation post was pinned, it would be judged by countless people. Therefore, moderators who valued their reputation would not easily give out a recommendation medal. Wang Yu did not regret it. He watched the video again, then quietly turned off his computer and went to bed. The night was long and he tossed and turned. Monday morning, the sky was gloomy and there were drops of rain falling. Luchin woke up early as usual. After a simple wash, he changed into the sportswear and running shoes he bought not long ago, and left home to exercise. Ever since he left school and came to Beijing alone, Luchin had not really exercised. On one hand, he lacked the time to exercise, and on the other hand, he had no money. As the saying goes, the poor study while the rich practice martial arts. To build a good physique, one must first ensure adequate nutrition and eat well to build a strong body of muscles. Otherwise, the gains would not make up for the losses. For example, he usually worked 2 jobs and did not have enough time to rest. His diet was irregular, and he often ate instant noodles to pass his days. It was impossible for him to torture himself. Now the situation was completely different. Luchin had found a new goal in life, and he even had ambitions. In order to achieve his goals and ambitions, just having a strong physique was not enough. Taking a step forward, facing the drizzle, Luchin ran along the riverbank until he ran into a small park. After running for a while, he had finished warming up. He began to stretch his muscles according to his memory. The 22-year-old Luchen's bones were already fixed, and his muscles lacked enough elasticity and toughness. It was impossible for him to completely perform the movements in his memory. Soreness, pain, numbness, itchiness. Just a few simple movements made him feel like there were countless ants crawling and biting his body. It was so uncomfortable that he wanted to immediately lie on the ground and rest. But Luchin persisted. As the old saying goes, only those who suffer the most hardship can rise to the top. No one's success was simple. Even if he had the treasure of the dream world, he did not want to be a parasite lying in a sea of gold and silver to squander. Gritting his teeth, stubbornly holding on, Luchin methodically completed the prescribed movements, allowing his sweat to soak his clothes and his limbs to gradually become numb. He ignored the strange gazes of other morning exercisers and persisted in the drizzle. By the time the exercise ended, he was about to collapse on the ground from exhaustion. He felt like his body did not belong to him, and he could not immediately sit down to rest. He needed to take a walk to relieve the fatigue in his limbs. If he did not have a strong will, he would not be able to persist. A few years ago, when Luchen's family was still well off, he would not torture himself like this. His father's death and the hardships of life had honed his tenacity. Luchin did not bow to fate. Because of this, he was far more mature than his peers and knew how to cherish opportunities. This training memory came from Mo Ran, the actor in the dream world. He had good acting skills and talent, but he was always a supporting character. Mo Rant's memory told Lu Chen that as long as he persisted in following the set of movements, his body would become more and more agile and powerful, and he would be able to perform many movements that ordinary people could not. Lu Chen firmly believed in this. His originally heavy steps gradually became lighter, and traces of comfortable heat spread through his limbs and bones. It was the feedback from his muscles and bones after hard training. He started to jog from a stroll. Instead of going home, Lu Chen ran to the place where he worked during the day. He was going to resign. Chapter 18. The resignation process went smoothly. Lu Chen called the manager yesterday to inform him of his decision. Because he was a temporary worker with an hourly salary, he didn't sign a formal contract, so he didn't have much protection. Naturally, there weren't many restrictions. He could leave at any time. The manager felt a bit regretful because Lu Chen had been working in the KFC store on Happiness Road for more than half a year. He had been diligent and conscientious in his work. He had never been late or left early. It was completely the performance of an excellent employee. It was a pity that there weren't many young people who were willing to work in a fast food restaurant for a long time. Therefore, the manager didn't make things difficult for him. After failing to persuade him to stay, he happily settled his salary for the month. With a thin stack of money in his arms, Lu Chen left without the slightest reluctance. Lu Chen, brother Lu. Just as he walked on the sidewalk, he suddenly heard an anxious voice behind him. Lu Chen couldn't help but turn around and saw a woman wearing a KFC staff uniform running towards him. As she ran, she shouted, "Wait!" Lu Chen was surprised. "Chen Exen, are you looking for me?" The woman named Chen Exen was Lu Chen's colleague. Although she was younger than him, she was already an old employee. Lu Chen wasn't very familiar with her. He only knew that she was from Sichuan and had been in Beijing for 2 to 3 years. The two didn't usually talk much. At most, they would just greet each other when they saw each other. Chen Exen was running in a hurry. Her white and round face was flushed with a healthy shade of red, making her look even more pretty. She stopped in front of Lu Chen, but didn't dare to look Lu Chen in the eyes. She asked, You resigned?" Lu Chen smiled and said, "Yes, I found another job, so I won't be working here." Chen Exen finally raised her head. There was a clear trace of disappointment in her eyes. She bit her lips and asked in a low voice, "Then are you going to continue to stay in Beijing?" Lu Chen was stunned. He was not a slow-witted fool, and Chen Exen's behavior was so obvious, how could he not understand? It was just that Lu Chen had never thought that Chen Exen would like him. In his memory, there was pitifully little information about this girl. There were only conversations at work. After hesitating for a moment, Lu Chen nodded and said, "Yes, if there are no accidents, I will always stay in Beijing. My new job can't leave here." A hint of joy appeared on Chen Exen's face as she said, "Then can you leave me your contact information?" Although Lu Chen didn't have any feelings for her and only treated her as an ordinary colleague, he didn't want to disappoint her at this time, so he agreed, "Okay, add me on QQ, we can keep in touch in the future." Lu Chen told his QQ number to Chen Exen. After Chen Exen wrote it down on her phone, Lu Chen waved goodbye to her. However, when Lu Chen walked far away, he inadvertently looked back and saw that the figure was still standing in the same place. In this metropolis with a population of 30 million, people met and parted in a hurry. After returning to his own dwelling, Lu Chen first washed his face. He used cold water to wash his face. It was bone-chilling. He needed to calm himself down and think about his future path. Quitting the KFC job was not an impulsive decision. This part-time job didn't pay much, and it took up an entire day's time. There was no need to continue doing it. In Lu Chen's view, his most important task was to sort out the treasures in his memory, the thousands of classic songs, and the countless beautiful and moving stories. These memories came too suddenly. Although they were already engraved in his mind, Lu Chen couldn't be sure if they would suddenly disappear one day and leave him with a beautiful dream. Therefore, it was extremely important to record and preserve the things in his memory. After washing his face, Lu Chen's mind became very clear. He sat in front of his desk, turned on his computer, and took out a pen and paper. First, he drew on a piece of white paper and drew out a simple diagram. Lu Chen simply categorized the songs in his memory. First, there were the major categories: love songs, rock songs, folk songs, theme songs, China style, fast songs. Below the major categories were the smaller categories. For example, love songs could be categorized according to emotions: gentle, nostalgic, melancholy, sad, happy, and there were also duets between men and women. Another example was folk songs, which were divided into campus folk songs, urban folk songs, rural folk songs, independent folk songs, etc. As for rock songs and fast songs, they also had a variety of styles. The more he wrote on the paper, the clearer his thoughts became. What Lu Chen was doing now was to draw a big framework for his memory. Within the framework, there were countless blanks with hints, and then he could slowly fill in the blanks. He didn't have to write whatever he thought, and it was completely random. This way, he could avoid mistakes and omissions in his memory to the greatest extent. Drawing up the framework was only the first step. The rest of the work was really difficult. Each song needed to be composed and written. It was easy to be familiar with the songs and sing them by yourself. However, many songs that he had only heard once or twice required a lot of effort to restore. There was also the arrangement. Someone once said that if you only knew how to write melodies but didn't know how to arrange them, it wasn't considered a real composition. This sentence might be too extreme, but it wasn't without reason. Arrangement was Lu Chen's biggest weakness on the road of music. His understanding of arrangement was very limited. His limited experience still came from the memory of Su Bo, the singer in his dream. Su Bo had musical talent, but his talent was mainly reflected in singing and playing. He could write some songs, but he didn't know how to arrange them. In Lu Chen's memory, the classical works often had exquisite arrangements, and some had even reached the level of perfection. Brilliant arrangements made the melody more moving, which was an important factor in the creation of a classic. The rich and explosive accompaniment required the cooperation of a large number of instruments. If Lu Chen were to rewrite them, it would be an impossible task. Of course, Lu Chen could hand over the task of arrangement to others. Domestic pop music was very prosperous, and there were many musicians who were good at arranging music, including many big figures. However, those musicians might not be able to perfectly meet Lu Chen's requirements, so he wanted to try to learn and master the skills and ability of arrangement by himself, and finally complete these classic works by himself. Lu Chen had never considered that in the future he would rely on effortlessly selling the things in his dream memory to live a comfortable life. He was still very young, and had great dreams and pursuits. He really wanted to work hard to achieve his goal. Of course, for now, he had to put aside the matter of arrangement. Even if he wanted to learn, he couldn't learn it immediately. Controlling the mouse to open Singer Master, Lu Chen began his work for the day. Time passed silently, and the small house was quiet. Only the tapping sound of the keyboard and mouse could be heard from time to time. Occasionally, the sound of the old computer's cooling fan could be heard. One song after another, Lu Chen finished remaking them, and then saved them according to their categories. Among the important songs, he directly sent them to Greater China Music Library for copyright inquiry and registration, to ensure that there were no legal issues with the copyright. This was very important. In the pop music industry, disputes over song copyright were very common, so he had to be careful. The inquiry and registration fees for Greater China Music Library were very high, so high that many people in the music industry expressed their strong dissatisfaction, but no one questioned its authority and credibility. Actually, it was very simple for Lu Chen to save money. He only needed to publish his songs on a large music forum or website, and pay a few dozen yuan to register the copyright. This way, he could basically guarantee his rights as a composer. However, the value of these songs was too high. Lu Chen was not a short-sighted person. Just like how he did not sign a contract that was detrimental to his original copyrights, he paid more attention to the long-term development needs, and now he also had the money to register the copyright. The profit he earned from the Forget Grass Bar, and the tips he received from the live broadcast, were all the reasons why he was so confident. He was completely focused on the computer, until his stomach made a goo-goo sound of protest. At this time, Luchin woke up from his trance-like state and couldn't help but touch his shriveled belly. He looked at the time displayed on the computer. It was already past noon. Luchin was a bit speechless. First of all, he did not think that he would sit for so long, and second of all, his stomach was getting hungry too fast, completely out of his normal state. One had to know that he ate breakfast at around 8 in the morning, and it was twice the usual amount. Mental work also consumed a lot of energy. Luchin shook his head, stood up, stretched his body that was stiff from sitting for a long time, and prepared to go out for lunch. At this time, the phone on the table suddenly rang. You're tuning in to the Dreamy Chapters YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.